proper. Okay, kia ora everybody. Welcome to the full council meeting, Buller District Council, 28th of June 2023. Welcome you all here. We'll formally open the meeting after we have heard from our public forum, and we have one confirmed speaker, and then we have a presentation from Dignity New Zealand, and then we'll get into our meeting proper. So welcome everyone. Without further ado, public forum, free to enter. 5 minutes to address council.
Hello everyone. I've come here to give you an update on the Chasm Creek Walkway in Sydney. Earlier in the year, I told you that we had received funding to build a swing bridge over the Chasm Creek Walkway. I'm here because the Buller District Council gave us a seed fund of $30,000 a few years ago towards the costs, and so yeah, we've got the funding. But so now the bridge has been delayed. The work was supposed to start on the bridge in June, but we've had difficulty getting the building consent because evidently the area is an erosion-prone D, which means that we have to replace some galvanised materials with stainless steel materials, and also a few other things that we weren't aware of when we applied for funding. I've been to the building department, but yeah, they hadn't told us about these things, so we're slowly getting them done. But in the meantime, Access, the company that is going to build our bridge, it was going to start in June, but seeing it couldn't do that, it's gone on to build the Heafy Bridge over the Heafy River, and so yeah, they'll be doing that until the end of the year, and hopefully our building consent will be in place by the end of the year. Now, whole year it should happen. And they're going to start our bridge early in the new year. And I guess one of the reasons that the delays with our building consent have happened is that there must be a scarcity of engineers free to do a bit of design work because of all the floods and everything else. Engineers must be in pretty high demand around the place. Yeah, so that's it. Just thought I'd let you know.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay.
Bit of story questions from the council.
So, Frida, when you say we, so who's actually in the trust?
There's 3 trustees at the moment. There's myself, there's Anna Hollings, and there's Frank Sorensen.
Any other questions? Councillor Sampson?
You were just wanting to reassure that their funding, their seed funding is still there.
I hope so.
Is that what you're actually wanting, letting us know that there's the delay because of all the weather events around the country, but when you're ready to go, the funding's still there?
Yeah.
Cool. Yep, I understand it is. I'm getting nods from the finance team, so that's all good. So thanks for the update, and thanks for your tenacity in getting that community project, keeping it alive, all of this.
Bit of prodding involved.
Look forward to it coming to fruition for you. Thank you. Lynn, Mrs. Higgins, do you wish to speak in public forum or no?
Yes, I will.
Yep.
I'd like to address this council because you are the elected members of this town. You are elected to serve us, to look after us, and to use our money wisely, not for consultants, $1 million consultants, and then you have to have an investigation into the consultants, which is a bit ridiculous, but things done in secret will always be revealed. If you're doing things that are underhanded or whatever, I'm not accusing you, but I'm saying if you are, it will be revealed. And this town is worth, I've lived here all my life, And what is happening in this town and what is happening to the pensioners of this town is absolutely disgraceful, really, where there is no care, compassion, nothing for the people of this town. And this town matters. This town it's got a lifeblood of its own. And I'm sorry, I got passionate. And I got passionate about what I read in the paper last week. And I think it's utterly disgusting where you're giving pay rises to people in Brome House who are not even qualified for the jobs, some of them aren't, and you're giving pay rises to them when you've got pensioners at the bottom of the barrel scraping. They can't even go to the supermarket and buy food. How bad's that? Or they live on noodles. So I'm passionate and I'm speaking out for the people of this town. We're worth something. We are worth representing all of you. You're not here just to keep the seats warm. You're here to represent us, the people of this town. Thank you, Jamie.
Thanks, Lynn. Any questions, councillors? Okay. Anyone else for public forum? Nope. Okay, thank you very much. Those two speakers will get a formal reply from me, which we deliberate at the end of the meeting. Right, we move on now to, excuse me, a presentation, and this is outside of public forum per se. It's slightly longer, I understand. So I welcome Lisa from Dignity New Zealand to give us an update on your organisation, and the floor's yours. Welcome. You've got full council and you're beaming out to the world.
Great, awesome. Thank you so much for having me along. Kia ora, ko Lisa toku ingoa. I am General Manager at Dignity, and our mission at Dignity is to create period equity in Aotearoa. And what that means is that nobody misses out on work, education, sport, or anything else because they don't have access to period products. So we're a social enterprise and we're based in Wellington. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about what we do and how we might look at working with councils like yours in terms of being able to better support your communities to make sure that everybody has equal opportunities. So period poverty is quite a big issue in New Zealand. We know that up to 24% of people with periods at some point have missed work or school because they haven't had access to period products. It's a pretty staggering stat. And so we want to make sure that we can help to remove that barrier for people to make sure that nobody has to miss out. How Dignity works in terms of our social impact initiatives and how we support this is normally we work with corporate organisations. So we partner with companies like ANZ, Westpac, One, the old Vodafone, and we sell them a model which is buy one, give one. So how it works with them is that they buy 10 boxes of period products. 5 of those go to their offices, and that's for their employees to use. And the other 5 we gift to community and youth groups, food banks, pātakas, women's refuges, anywhere that people are going when they may not have access or maybe experiencing hardship so that they too can have access to period products. When we think about what this aligns with in terms of strategic objectives, it's things like employee well-being and better looking after employees. Even if people can afford to buy period products, it absolutely does not mean that people haven't been caught out at some point and they just haven't had them at that time. So for people that have never had a period in the room, if you get caught out, it's quite stressful and anxiety inducing. And it means that you're either having an awkward conversation, you are leaving to go to the nearest dairy or supermarket, or worst case scenario, you need to go home. So we want to try and take that away and make it a better place for people. We think that period products should be provided like toilet paper and tea and coffee and soap and beers on a Friday. And again, for people that have never had a period, if you can imagine all going to work tomorrow at the council, taking your toilet paper with you, keeping that in your bag at your desk, and discreetly taking that to the bathroom, because when you get there, there would be no toilet paper. And how would that make you feel? And imagine going to the rugby game on the weekends and having to take it with you. That's something that people with periods have to do all the time. And so we want to make period products something that's as accessible as toilet paper. In terms of the product partners that we work with to provide period products, we partner with OI, which is Organic Initiative, and Awa, which is another brand, and they're both New Zealand brands that focus on providing plastic-free, organic, good for your body, good for the environment, sustainable period products. And then we partner with over 230 different organizations across the country to provide those free period products. When we firstly started, a lot of the places that we were gifting free product to was schools, because we knew that lots of people were missing school once a month because they couldn't afford to buy period products. And that just creates unfairness, right? If you're a person that gets a period compared to somebody who doesn't, you're missing out on getting educated. So a lot of them were schools. And then our co-founder, Jacinta, led the Positive Periods campaign. And that was all about getting the government to provide free period products into schools so that there's equal opportunity for learning for everybody. So that got approved, and the Ministry of Education started the rollout for free period products in all public schools in 2021. So that enabled us to move the schools that we were supporting over to the Ministry of Education program, and for us to focus on other groups in the community that support people experiencing hardship. The brands that we work with as well, OI and Awa and Dignity, are also all female and New Zealand owned and operated. So when our partners are supporting working with us, they are really supporting giving back to local communities and to supporting local businesses. So then I thought, okay, we are helping corporate organizations to create period equity. We are working with these organizations that support people experiencing hardship by providing them with gifted period products to people in need. We're starting to see an increase in organizations like libraries and swimming pools and other public spaces talking about providing period products to people. They're talking about how they notice, for example, swimming pools where they've got female teachers, they notice that once a month the teachers weren't able to come to the classes. And the link back to that was period poverty and them not having access to period products. So we wanted to reach out to the councils to talk about how you could help to create period equity in your local community. Because right now there will be people that are missing out on having equal opportunities because they don't have access to period products. There might be people that can't go to the swimming pool once a month because they don't have access. There might be a young mum who has a kid and she takes her kid to swimming lessons and they have to miss out once a month. So what we're trying to do is think about how we can work with local councils to consider providing free period products into your public spaces and making sure that everybody has access and that they don't miss out just because they get a period. It's all about letting your communities be more engaged. It's acknowledging that it's a normal biological function, just like going to the toilet, and that they should be better supported. And it's all about their well-being. Because even, like I said before, if you can afford to buy period products, more than 86% of people with periods have been caught out at some point in their lives where they don't have access. And so it's just making sure that your local community, when they are out enjoying things, they've got it there if they need it, and it's not a stressful, anxiety-inducing situation for them. It's something that's been very commonly accepted for a long time, and we're really here to challenge that and to make sure that we try and create equal opportunities for everybody. And I would really love for you all to consider how this could potentially work in your local community for things like your swimming pools or your libraries or any other public spaces, cultural centres and things like that, to make sure that everybody can go to those places at any time of the month. So I've popped some information together, which I've shared, and I think that's going to be sent out to you later, which has some examples of how we work in different public spaces like a library, and a cultural centre, some information on how much it costs, and also just some examples again of, you know, why consider providing period products, and also why partnering with Dignity rather than going to the supermarket and buying one of the big global brands. And that really comes down to our social impact, our sustainable product, and us giving back to local communities. That's all I wanted to say today. So thank you very much for taking the time to listen. And I know that this is a topic that has a lot of stigma and shame associated with talking about it. So I really appreciate you giving me the time to come and openly talk about this with you. And I know it makes some people feel a bit uncomfortable. So thank you for letting me chat with you. And I'd just like to open the floor to see if anybody had any questions.
Thank you very much for that. Excellent. Any questions, councillors? Cool.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Looks like everyone's happy. You'll get a bit of a response from us, but I understand, yeah, the additional information will come out to us, and we'll have a chat to the team as to how we may consider how this works in our community. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Okay, thanks very much for the time, and have a great rest of your meeting. Bye.
Okay. Rightio, if there's nothing else, no other public forum have rocked up, so I will declare the meeting open at 3:46. And the first agenda item is apologies. Everyone is here, so I move there are no apologies. Seconded, councillor Farlett. All those in favour? Any against? Carried. Members' interest, agenda item number 2. Are there any matters on today's agenda for which members wish to declare a financial or non-financial interest?
I'll just say that, given some of the mayor's correspondence from Sacred School, that I obviously work there. So
Okay.
if we have any discussion around that, I'll exclude myself.
Okay, that's councillor Webb. Any other declarations? No, I move that we receive that one note. Seconded, Deputy Mayor Bishop. All those in favour? Any against? That's carried unanimously. And that's just in relation to agenda item 13, Mayor's report. On to agenda item 3, confirmation of previous minutes. Now we have minutes from the 31st of May and the 14th of June. Let's deal with them one at a time. 31st of May, are there any matters of correction required in those minutes? Councillor Sampson.
Under public forum, it was Jesse Credmore, not should be a D. It follows through 2 or 3 different places where her name is mentioned.
So how do you spell that, please?
It's a D after
Creed.
Cred.
R-E-D-M-O-R-E?
Yeah, double E.
Okay, I'll correct that, thank you.
Apologies to Ms. Creedmore. I had that correct in my notes. Councillor Howard.
Page 24, the public forum responses to Brian Jones and Jesse Creedmore. I tried to read and understand. I just think it needs to be reworded. I don't think it really reflects the response.
Doesn't reflect the actual, did you read the actual letter that went out in the mayor's correspondence?
Yes, yeah.
Were you comfortable with that? Or?
Yeah. I just thought when you looked at those 3 sentences, I sort of tried to think of what does it actually mean, and from that wording, I think it needs to just be reworded in line with our letter of response.
Okay. Does anyone else have a view on that?
Maybe it could say what Brian and Jesse were talking about, because it's kind of the council response to what they said. Do you think? Maybe noting their concerns. No.
Well,
I think
it's really just it's meant to just capture the theme of what they spoke about, and really the material for the record kind of response is what's in the written response from council. I think on that, so I'm reasonably comfortable with it. I think the bit that's that I don't know matters, for want of a better word, is the written response they got that was agreed at the meeting. But
That comes at the Joe's saying in the fact that if you're looking at reading the minutes alone, it's difficult to pick up one's bench. And I think possibly was that the point was trying to be made that the subcontractors getting work, they may not be there for the emergency responses that come up, because the whole issue of it was giving negotiated contracts to out of district. Therefore,
so I think if I could just help the minute taker here, if Mr. Jones's, the notes under Mr. Jones was woven into Ms. Creedmore's section, that would cover it, wouldn't it? She spoke about additional things to him. And Mr. Jones's little note there is quite clear that what he's talking about around contracts allocated to smaller local contractors, capacity lost to the community over time. I think if those notes were added to Jessie Creedmore's notes, that would kind of cover off the only item that kind of hasn't been fleshed out in her minute. It adds the roading contractor issue into that.
and yeah, nothing here from Jessie's point of view about the community response. It was a large community response that's absent. But again, it was in the letter, which is not with the minutes. So it was, maybe if we get back to the letter, just a couple of sentences out of there to make it a whole.
But to do that, we have to park the minutes and bring them back to another meeting, but I'm happy to do that if we need to. Councillor Reddy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also had a question about that. I was going to park it, but it's been raised. First sentence, this is mostly about subcontractors rather than main contractors. Just not sure what that means, because I know Jessie and Ryan were talking about subbies up around north of Buller. They were saying emergency response. That was a query that they had because of noting. They noted that because they were concerned that when other contractors come in from outside of Buller, that there's a high probability that they will miss out on the subcontracting work. I remember him saying that. So they get to third sentence, noting the shortage of work around the country. This is why subcontractors are able to come here from outside the district. It's not subcontractors we're talking about, it's contractors. We're talking about bid ladies in terms of a procurement for, you might recall, is a 2 or 3 hour Braemouth area. I believe that's what they were talking about, not subbies, because they are subbies. That's what they were trying to represent when they gave their talk at the public forum. Am I correct in saying that?
They were talking about, well, I understood they were talking about the Karamea contractors, which are in that context are largely subbies to the roading network contractors, because they don't typically hold the actual contract for the highway. It's most of that, I understand, is under West Street, when they typically get some of the work flowing from West Street into the smaller contractors. I don't want to buy into a re-litigation of that or not. I guess if we're not happy that that captures their presentation, then we'll set these minutes aside and we'll review them at the next council meeting. And I'll see if Gina can look at the written responses from me and wave that into the notes. It's probably the only way to do it.
So we've got that letter there with your written response, so we could just take those words and put it into the minutes. That'd be done and dusted.
Yep. But the difficulty is we have various views around how that looks and how that sounds, and we can't really do that via email. So we'll set the emails. We'll set these minutes aside. I don't think there's any reason that we can't do that, and we'll bring them to the next council meeting. Okay, we'll move on to the 14th of June then. There was no point debating those any further unless there's something else. Okay, let's do with that then. We might.
13 years report on page 21.
Yeah.
In terms of the news report, I did ask the question about the absence of no recording of your attendance at the weekly SLT meetings. You gave an explanation for that, but I'm not sure if the SLT meetings are limited at all. They should be, but I don't know if they are. However, in the interest of transparency, you said, oh, you're there, you provide a bit of input and what have you. But there's no comment on here that this comment was raised. And I believe it's quite important in terms of transparency that people are aware, that the community are aware that you do attend the weekly SLT meetings.
Yeah, absolutely. I often talk about it in my Friday forum, so no problem at all.
Yeah.
Yep. That I may be asking the question, so that can. Yeah. Cool. Okay, with that, righto. We'll move on to the next minutes, the 14th of June. And that was the annual plan changes and the like. Any changes to those minutes, please? Okay, Councillor Reedy.
Apologies. Paragraph 5. I will park my time. Sorry, my apologies for the interruption.
Okay, so we'll have to revisit the recommendation here, which was receive and confirm minutes. We'll just do the second part. So council receive and confirm the minutes from the meeting of 14th June 2023. Moved Councillor Farlett, seconded Councillor Grafton. All those in favour? Any against? That's carried with the abstention of Councillor Reedy. And we'll just note that the minutes of the 31st of May, we'll just have to make some changes and bring those back to the next council meeting. Cool. Right, agenda item 4 is the council action point list. There are no action points on there at the moment. I move that be noted. Seconded, Councillor Farlett. All those in favour? Any against? That's carried. Okay. Main business of any council's year. Agenda item 5 is the annual plan adoption. There's a number of recommendations there. A lot of recommendations there. I will just open that up for questions first, and then we'll probably work our way through. We'll just see where it lands. If there's anyone who wants to move them differently, we'll consider that. Questions on the annual plan adoption report, please. Councillor Farlett.
I just had a question for my clarification. In previous council meeting, we approved, I think it was $750,000 for the emergency water plan. Where does that come into the annual plan and the budget? For the water tanks and the bore investigations?
Yeah. So just ask the question again. Where does it come into
the annual plan?
Question? Do you understand the question?
Yeah. We're just dealing with that money came from. I think
if you could explain that.
In principle, what we've done is we're heading back to the current year, 22-23, capital works program. It took a result of we funded from initially the internal debt of the council. As part of our carry forward process, we then rolled it through 23-24 because we haven't done too much of that. So a few checks and balances to do. So yeah, a lot of these ones which get added, you'll call refuse, for reference, similar things. So they get recognised as a 22-23 item they had to supplementary act, and officially make it to the 23-24, but they're self-balancing, I suppose, funding. So they balance out funding because they're internally borrowed initially, and then we have external debt or internal debt. But then the income stream will get sorted out from July 2024.
Any other questions? Councillor Reedy.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, but just in terms of Annalise's comment, it is a plan as well as a budget, so I would expect to have seen something because reasonably I would expect to see some comment as a plan, part of the plan that we were going to do this work. it's intended. If we don't have an explanation as to why, the dollars are coming from, there is no explanation. Is that correct?
From my understanding, it just didn't stand out as one of the big additional items. Is the other kind of ones there?
Right. Okay.
I take it that on board. And I do appreciate that if we could, I could spend a couple of hours talking about this, Mr. Lear. If we could go through each one of these items one by one and talk to each one if we can, please, rather than
Nations.
my recommendation is to go through each of these 2.1, 2.2.
Yeah, that's, well, we'll
If that's
see.
okay with you.
Yeah,
and
well, we'll
everybody
see.
else.
That's probably, okay, yep. Okay, we'll still deal with general questions and then we can start moving things if we want. If it's going to take a couple of hours, Colin, we better get cracking on it. Sorry, Councillor Reedy. Councillor Naylor.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just a bit of clarification. I think it's on page 10 of the plan, and we're talking about changes to budgets other than inflation impacting general rates, include a net increase in staff roles, 469,000. And then when we go to page 11, it's got employee benefit expenses are forecast to increase by 1.35 million. And then the next few paragraphs talk about amounts of 435 for general movement and remuneration relating to inflation and market adjustments, and then additional staff to complete flood recovery work, and that's external funding of 457,000 and several new roles of 559,000. So I'm just not sure where the 1.35 million, does that include the 469,000 on page 10, or is that additional to the 1.35? When I add those others up, it comes to 1.45 anyway, so just need a bit of clarification about those figures.
Is that an easy answer, or will we come back to it shortly?
I could say that the figure that's stated is the total, it's not in addition to. I'll have a dig around and come back.
Thanks.
Is that okay? Before we, yep. It may actually be a problem for you to vote. That's without that answer, I don't know, but we'll see how we go. Any other question, Councillor Reedy?
Just a general question, please, Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
This one, page 9 of the draft. Significant capital expenditure, 9.8 RTS, road and return to service. There's a boiler, BBC Rob pointed out December to say that BBC received 13.2 million RTS for roading. 1.5 of that, I'll say 1.5, 1.2, was used immediately following the floods. So that left us with about $12 million. Okay, so in here we've got 9.8 million recorded on here, of which 3.6 is council. So rough figures, that leaves us with 9.5 coming from RTS. I said before we had 12 million left over, supposedly 9.5 minus 12, obviously $2.5 million. Just wondering where that $2.5 million is from.
Okay.
I don't need an answer today.
Well, it's quite a lot of money, so I think we do. Question on that timeline? Yep.
Just a general terms, the 13 million is the total package, and it comes over 2 or 3 year program. Some of them done immediately in the 21-22 as council already identified. Some of them done in the 22-23 year, and then some done in the 23-24 year as part of recovery and repairs. So, yeah, happy to provide sort of detail blow by blow. Been doing for this spread over that. That one number is a total package. And we refer to what's been done in this current year, what's been done in this year just in, and what's done in sort of years.
That's right, yeah, so it won't all be reflected in this one annual plan. Thank you, that's useful. Councillor Sampson?
Along the same line, I was concerned when I saw, well, I didn't know, I saw it broken down again yesterday, the fact that 846,000 of that 1.75 was for roading, and just bearing in mind what we've spoken about, that was for the ratepayers, again, because we didn't have submissions or anything else. It gave nobody the opportunity to speak on what we wanted, and more to the point of we as councillors didn't have any go as to saying who got contracts, because some of those contracts were sizable, and contracts of some of that size normally come back to council, but because it was external funding, the point I'm making is that 846,000 is ratepayers' money that we as councillors had no opportunity to have any say in it and leave it into the community. And it's 1.75 million of ratepayers' money that has gone out to top up. Sure, we've been very fortunate getting that extra money, but it's still a lot of money that could come from ratepayers.
Yeah, that's the unavoidable threshold payments that we couldn't avoid out of the two things. Yep.
Just reiterating again about.
Yeah, I think it's useful to reiterate, because I think the perception is that the floods haven't been that expensive for us as a district, but there's been quite a significant portion of funding, despite our efforts to get as much external funding as we have. There's quite a bit that was unavoidable, and that is reflected through the plan and some of the rate rise. Okay, if there's Councillor.
I just wanted to say there was a section that had like little pictures of like roading and cars, and that was really good. A manual plan. I thought it was really easy to read and really easy to interpret. Just take a positive comment out here.
Okay, how are we going, finance team, on answer to Graham, or we'll like to move to the recommendations? That's all. Keep it moving.
I apologise, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
Graham, is there?
Yes, just one further question, if I can, Mr. Mayor. In terms of the tourism infrastructure fund application, when we spoke about it at the meeting on the 14th, I asked the question because we heard that there was needing to be a report on the sewage system at Putakaiki, the camping ground there, and that report wasn't going to be available until September. And I think I asked the question, well, how can we make a decision today on that without the report? And I thought that was going to be withdrawn from those projects.
I thought there was part of the recommendation talks about Putakaiki wastewater project would be back to council to consider. So 2D, does that address your concern?
Well, that's if the external party funding doesn't eventuate, which still leaves it in there.
Yeah. So
we should read number C as well. So just to be clear, we do need to put it in our budget, but we've put catch-alls under C. Like if we don't get that money, it's not proceeding.
Yeah.
If we don't get external money, it's not proceeding. So there is that catch-all for us to review there. It's just the size of it at 1.7 million. So yeah, hopefully you're comfortable. We would be able to give us enough sort of if we get it, fine, but it's got to rely on that.
Yeah.
So am I hearing you right? Your question is, should we just wipe it all together?
Well, I thought we were pulling it out, but I just want clarification. If it's subject to reports, then that's fine.
It's like a lot of the government around this council's managed to acquire over a union shares. It's great opportunity. We should grab it. It's just the timing for us to be camped in their budget.
Yeah.
Which is good. Therefore, we should do it. My recommendation is
thank you.
Right.
Let's clarify that payroll question if you
okay. Yes.
So if you look at this, it is in the wording. So if you look at if you look on page 10, so I read out page 10, what we're talking about there is it's the net increase. The key unfortunately is change the budget other inflation impacting on general rates. So the first figure of 469,000 is just talking about impacting on the general rates. When you go down to page 11, we're talking about employee expenses over the entire council budget. So therefore, that's a 1.35. I've got some is funded from general rates as I noted above, others is funded from external fees that we earn, and some is from grant as well. So it's one description is the effect on general rates, the other is the total movement across a number of funds.
So in that 1.35 million total, it includes that 469.
Correct, because that's a total cost issue.
Yeah.
469 is just the funding of general rates. It's appreciated the confusion.
Yeah, thank
It's
you.
just how funding works on the
Yeah.
budgets.
Excellent, thank you. Rightio, I think we'll start chipping away at the recommendations. So the first one is receive the annual plan 2023-24 adoption report. And are you comfortable to merge any of these, Colin, or?
I'd like to move 2.1, please. 2.1 receives the annual plan adoption report.
Yep. Okay, moved, seconded, councillor Howard. All those in favour? Any against? So just the first one, receive the annual plan adoption report. Motion's carried, councillors. Do you want your name recorded? Yep, councillor Sampson's against. Noted. Okay, the second one there endorses the Tourism Infrastructure Fund application, noting council's 50% share of 855,000 would be provided from existing carryover budgets, 460,000 drawdown on the reserve fund contribution balance, funding from an external party. Let's deal with all of two. Should the Tourism Infrastructure Fund not approve the application, these projects will not proceed. Should the Tourism Infrastructure Fund propose a lower rate than 50% for this application, this would be a matter to come back to council to consider before the projects proceed. And D, should the additional funding from the external party not eventuate, this would be a matter to come back to council to consider before the Punakaiki wastewater project proceeds. I will move that way to A through D. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Naylon. Any further questions on that one? All those in favour? Any against? Councillor Sampson against. Oh, do you want it recorded? Motion's carried. Right. It's up to the member to ask if they want it name recorded. Okay, 3. Notes that the total rates revenue increase of 6.8% in the annual plan 23-24 is 1.4% higher than the same year in the 21-31 long-term plan and exceeds the 2.2% limit set in the financial strategy. Just seeing if we can, I'm going to move 3 and 4. Notes that the increase in the net debt in the annual plan 22-23 at 29.36 million exceeds the net debt limit set in the financial strategy. Let's do those two at the moment. I move that way. Seconded.
I would like to make comments on note 3 before you rush away on it, is the fact that you're talking about versus 6.8, and I'm sure with averages you have highs and lows, but when you come to the figure of all Caribbean rates, and there is no other area the same, they start off at residential 14.9% increase, commercial 63.2, rural 22.15, and rural residential 26.36 increase. I can't see any relevance to the 6.8 or even 7%, and it seems to be well out of kilter even for an average. So we note that this is what we ended up with. And just seems to be that's hence why I don't go along with adopting the annual plan. And again, I should have spoken earlier with the fact that letters have already gone out to debit payments that debit payees, that their interest has already gone up. So before we have even adopted this plan, people have got notification of their increase in rates. And so I have to question what we're here for, adopting an annual plan when decisions have already been made as to how much the rates are going. This is what I've got here.
Used to me, is that, can we have explanation around that?
Can I clarify, would you like an explanation on the difference to the increases or in direct debits or one?
I've got two separate questions.
So the reason that that everybody's rates won't go up 6.8% for every household rate is that the total rates revenue increase for this council is 6.8 overall. What we've seen this year, we've had a revaluation which has come through, and it's meant that where we've got groups of ratepayers in certain differential group, if their valuation has risen a whole lot more than others that are inside the same group, then those ratepayers will see an increase in their rates. So that is the reason why there's such a variable amount, particularly in this year. One thing that we have done to try and help our ratepayers with their direct debits is to establish what the amount of rates is likely to be because of this annual plan and get that out to our ratepayers to help with some of the concerns around making sure that they do actually have an opportunity to make 52 or 26 instalments throughout the whole of the rating year to make sure they don't get into arrears. And so the ratepayers have asked, many ratepayers who are on DDs have asked for that. So there's no intention to preempt what happens here today, it's just to try and meet that community. So that's why the intention was to understand the pressures that our community feel and how important it is to them to manage some of their budgets, especially in Australia at the moment. So that's the intention, it's not true.
So it's a heads up ahead of potential changes in the direct debits that they would just automatically happen otherwise. Yeah, okay.
So one more thing, it was called the Carol Mears Mining Area serviced by Council of Water and Westport. So remembering that, as Rob said, it's a total rate limit, but if you take out water rates and just concentrate on general rate, that is itself is a 10.8%.
10.9.
So it is unfortunately you can carry me a combination of a high focus on general rate for those properties, and Mr. Brooks said the values of carry me, because we did look hard at that and capture it. Carry me as the evaluations have moved on the land value more than those years.
I fully understand that, but my understanding was when valuations went up high across the board, they leveled out to remain the same. But nevertheless, you know, you want to take out the targeted rates, 10.9 is still significant, and it doesn't sort of come into line with the 63.2 for commercial increase, which is very substantial. So take the targeted rate out of that, I'm sure that can stay to it. And I think that's just completely utterly unaccounted for any one district. And the fact that there's been no consultation or engagement of, sorry, that's the right word now. It's just over the top.
Okay. Noted. I'm not sure what the remedy is at this 11th hour, unfortunately.
I think we need more definitions.
Okay. I've moved 3 and 4. Do I have a seconder? And then I will open it, Colin, if you like. Councillor Farlett seconded. Right, I will open it for further discussion now if it's on those two.
Yeah.
Councillor Reid.
And I won't take to else. Trust me. And I will probably touch on the other items as well. I agree about the letter. I've got a letter here. I believe it's the tail wagging to a certain extent. But I also understand the urgency. We've got a bit of a crossover. It starts on Friday, I think, whatever the 1st of July is. I believe this could have been a little bit more information behind there as to why I'm getting this before the annual plans actually being adopted. I don't necessarily accept what Brooks has said, but I hear what's been said. Coming back to the annual plan, we're talking about financial strategies here. Water in general has got a paper out on financial strategies. I've been told right from the start, I've been elected, that we deal with strategies. It seems to me that the financial strategy, which is a strategy, actually failed, it's fallen over. And that should be noted. Now, when I looked at the draft annual plan in March, I sat here, and I know you'll talk on behalf of myself. I sat here and this was presented to me, and I put my hand up and said that I would agree, but we don't go out for public consultation. A member of the public came to me and said, "You just got to latch the gate." I said, "No, that's okay. It is okay." Less than a week later, we get these staff submissions on their own document that they presented to me, and suddenly, all of a sudden, these other items have just appeared out of nowhere. Now, I'm not arguing that these items should not be discussed. They are, every dollar we've got in here is needed, but we don't need the money. It's as simple as that. If those items have subsequently come through from staff submissions on their own document, then we would have been compelled to go out and undertake staff submissions, community consultation. These were material. As a result of that, I believe myself that I was being misled by SLT, BDC SLT, and as a result of that, also by yourself, Mr. Mayor, I've been misled. So, as a result of that, there's so many comments in here that I've made. I'm not going to spend any time on it, but I will not be adopting this annual plan for 23-24, simply because my trust has been lost for SLT based on me being misinformed, misled about this, and that's what I believe.
Okay, cool, thank you. Well, I might move 3 through 9 then, unless someone has something different. Because if we don't, Colin was the only one who seemed to want to do this blow by blow. Is there any other change to that?
We move 3 and 4.
Yeah, we can debate those two. Yep,
Can I comment?
absolutely.
Yeah, I think this has been a pretty perennial for me in most of the annual plans that I've been involved in. When we've been told that the average rise is 6.8%, and in fact it is if you take into account all the targeted rate. But this year we actually resolved, or we are about to resolve, that there'll be no increase in the targeted rates, and therefore the real pertinent percentage, if you like, is the rise in general rate. And my working out of the draft was an 8.8% rise in general rates, and now we're up to 10.9. And I think, in order to let the public know, we should have been talking about the 8.8 or 10.9, not the 6.8, because I think we had a submission from Federated Farmers saying that they were pretty pleased that it only went from 5.4 to 6.8. But that's simply because the majority of ratepayers are hooked up to sewage and water, and so when you take those into the total, that's where you get a lower percentage. And I've always said, especially for people who don't have any of the targeted rate services, that we need to compare apples with apples. So when we're talking about general rates, we should have been talking about an 8.8 or 10.9% rise, which in my view is significant. And probably had we been talking that way when we determined not to go out to consultation, maybe we would have changed our mind. And so when I read about the 3 waters and that function, all those functions being taken out of the council, then that gave me heart that from then on, once it goes out, we'll all be talking about apples and apples and not apples and oranges, because the people with none of those services, we're up for quite a big rate rise, and you've seen some of the figures from Karamea. In terms of the new valuations, really surprised to see that my own property was looking at 8.8%, and now it's down to 4%. So certainly those, and I've had no change in valuation, but obviously somebody in the rural sector has, and obviously it's our colleagues from Karamea that have taken some of the burden. But I guess the corollary to that is that the rest of us have been paying higher rates for quite a number of years since the last valuation. And, it just happens to be that Carramere is catching up on, or rural Carramere anyway, is catching up on those valuations. And that was always, it wasn't pointed out probably early in the piece, but that was always going to be the likely thing. And the only way that the rates, would even out would be if the whole sector rose up or went down at the same rate. And obviously we've got a step in the valuations. And so to me, that's explains everything. I too, was very, very cautious about not going out to public consultation, and we didn't. Still to be convinced that the engagement that we conducted was the right way, and I really want to see a review on that, because going forward, especially with the long-term plan coming up, we really need to re-engage our community. And obviously this hasn't quite worked. We threw the old system out because it didn't quite work, so we really need to get our thinking caps on. So I have some reservations about parts of the plan, but I don't think that I cannot vote on the plan, so I wouldn't vote.
Thanks, councillor.
I think I agree. I think as chair, I would agree. I think that we all resolved to not consult because we wanted to do something better than what we had previously. We'd found full consultation hadn't worked well for us for a wee while. I think I concur. I think it would have been simpler and clearer if we'd have just done a full consultation. But in saying that, I don't think we should close our mind to the idea of engagement as a tool that could work in future. We just need to keep an open mind to what is the best way to do that. And again, the LTP might be an opportunity to test run some more things. There's no doubt about that. Can I just quickly check? Have we got a seconder for 3 and 4?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, that's all cool. I just wanted to make sure where we were at. So you've had a go. Councillor Sampson, have you spoken?
I just wanted to have a bit of correction on the old chestnut that Carramere rates have been down lower than previous in its catch-up. Well, the general rates have been compared with general rates right throughout the district, including Westport, that the targeted rates are right up there. So I don't believe that is not correct, because it's not a catch-up matter. It's just the way the evaluation has worked out, and I always was under the understanding that clearly not. So we have been targeted, as I'm not saying.
Okay, thanks. And I think the only other thing I'll pick up out of Councillor Naylon's thing is the comparison. The apples for apples thing is challenging. I understand the headline percentage is always consistent. It's always the council has always used, for media and all that is the same year to year. So I guess the apples to apples thing gets difficult too. If this year we choose a different measure to say our rate rise. So it's kind of difficult. And there are some rating examples in the annual plan for people to try and dig a bit deeper into what it might mean for properties like theirs, I guess. But, noted though. Okay, so 3 and 4 have been moved and seconded. Let's just deal with those. Noting that this is just noting a couple of points. It's not the actual adoption of the annual plan as yet. All those in favour? Any against?
Please.
Councillor Reedy against. The motion is carried. Councillor Sampson, you're against. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm against the end, so just.
Just let me quickly. Do we need to do these one at a time, or what's the feeling of the room? I'm happy to do either. Beg your pardon?
Whole lot at once.
Okay. Does someone want to move 5 through 9? Moved Councillor Naylon, seconded Councillor Weston. I'll open that up now for discussion. Councillor, I'll just see, does the mover want to speak first or anything? Nope. Councillor Reedy.
Very quickly, please, in terms of number 9, to go to page 58 of the draft in the plan. final costs, it's got final costs A, B, and C, stop. Then we go to policy, it starts B. So for some reason, the ABC, B, and what have you is wrong, and it was used to be authorised the legal chief CE to approve any minor changes.
Yeah, so that's what that seeks to do, so,
That's
yeah.
what it seems to be
Yeah.
highlighting.
One of them?
There's an
Yeah.
error there,
Yeah.
I believe.
Okay, thank you. Did you note that?
Thank you.
Page, yep. There's probably a few,
Just
old faces in the wrong place and such like, but that can be worked through before it goes live. Any other debate on 5 through 9? There's the feeling I need to read them out I probably should for the purposes of the live stream. So it's been moved and seconded that council agrees that exceeding both the total rates revenue increase and net debt limits are required to ensure that the council appropriately funds its operating and capital expenditure activities for 23-24 year, and that these decisions have been explained and are not considered significant enough to warrant an LTP amendment or affect the decision to not follow a formal annual plan consultation under section 95(2)(a) of the Local Government Act, and notes that staff have incorporated in the annual plan 23-24 under separate cover the decisions made at the special annual plan council meeting held 14th June 2023, and approves the list of proposed fees and charges to be included in the Buller District Council annual plan 23-24. In accordance with section 95 of the Local Government Act 2022, adopts the Buller District Council annual plan 23-24 on the 28th of June 2023 as attached, and authorises the acting chief executive officer to approve any minor editorial amendments to the final annual plan 23-24 document prior to being printed and made available online on the council's website. That has been moved, Councillor Naylon. So that is recommendations 5 through 9. Seconded, Councillor Weston. All those in favour? Any against? 2 against.
name the order, please.
A motion is carried. Thank you, councillors, and thank you, staff, for your efforts in pulling all that together for another year. Okay, now, this one is agenda item number 6. Pardon me, it's the setting of rates. Now, this is very legally required, and I don't suggest that we attempt to alter any of these recommendations or wordsmith them in any way, but I will have to be guided by the meeting on that, but that would be my advice. Is there anything to add from management on the rate setting agenda item?
It's got dates on page 59 of the agenda. We've got 2022, 3. Just be aware of that. Just going to correct that. I'll like to do 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
Actually, as page 2, apologies.
They should read.
It should be 23, 24. Yep, so 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So just get 23s and 24s.
I understand that, yep. Everybody clear on what that is? It's a typo. Comfortable with that? Anyone want to move the rating? I don't propose.
E and F too, doesn't it?
Yeah, even so, 24s is like 23s.
Yeah.
So are we comfortable with that? Because the reality is that none of it makes sense. Sorry, it makes sense. None of it makes sense in the context of it is the 23-24 annual plan. So I'm reasonably comfortable that that is a typo.
I'm on typo that the address to is actually transferred across the road and the usage from that for 66.
Beg your pardon?
The address, the paying rates, in Redfern, 66, all the way. So I just Googled that and it's the old site.
They could pay that, so it's not very nice. Thank you.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, okay. Physical address where they can be paid. Okay. Councillor Weston.
Mr. Mayor, here's a couple of little typos in the draft recommendation today. Listed in, there's not one word and in that, there's not one word. Just a couple of little typos there.
Okay. Can I suggest we add, should we just add an extra recommendation in there noting those typos and authorise them to be corrected? I think that might be just tidier from a legal point of view, given the importance of this particular part of the agenda. So can we just, have you captured what those corrections are?
I couldn't see 2A, was it?
So I think we just need to work through, Douglas, please, and confirm what they are and list them, and then we'll move those as a corrections at the end. Just noting that this is a pretty legal recommendation.
Correct, so if we,
Meeting is
to A, that's fine, to B, that's fine, so we get to C, the dates there are fine. When we get to D, we've got items 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, unfortunately, where we've got either a transposition of 2022, which should be 2023. So 2022, I'll come to the detail of this journey. So 3, 4, 5 all need to go from 22 to 23, being the dates of payment of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. You need to correctly reflect that it's the invoice for the 2023 year payable in 2024. Equally for 7, 8 through 12, it's the invoice for 24 payable in the 24 year. That's D. We have unfortunately the same problem with P, the unpaid rates, which should be looking August 2023. That's number 1. Number 2 should be 2023. Number 3 should be February 24. Number 5 should be installments on the 29th of April 2024. And to give them a full vote space. So yeah, we'll need more forms, we've got 5. That's 6 is fine. When we're on point part F, we're now talking about measured water rates and penalties. There were the same date changes as we did for D. That's those, so I'll replicate F into D for you. Get through to G. That's how we're finding for G. And then come through to G1, 2, okay, G3 is fine, G4, change the Broadway date. Sorry, location to correct. What we know, the council is the queries yeah, so we've got some ground there. Should say those listed in the environment that we need together. And then on the that's on the first line, on the fifth line, we've got in that should be 2 words in the district. So we get extra time as well. And I apologise for those dates.
Okay. Trying to see what we would call the additional recommendation to allow those changes, noting those changes. I can't figure out the numbering system.
So the number 5 originally under parts.
So the recommendation, additional recommendation 5A. Council notes corrections required to dates, date ranges, and minor corrections to grammar. Is discussed.
G5.
Just as long as that goes on the official record, that's all. Does everyone understand what?
Yeah, we just discussed.
Okay. And the address change. But I just want it minuted that there's, so that it's not, there's no, uncertainty. It's what we're voting on. Okay, has somebody, we moved that yet, have we? Does anyone want to move the rating recommendation? Moved Councillor Naylor, seconded Deputy Mayor Basher. Any further discussion on that? Councillor Naylor.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just as a mover, obviously this is an important part after we move the annual plan, and so we need to move this. But I'd just like to point out to councillors present that with 3 rating reviews that we've been through, I think, and in each of those reviews, it was pointed out that we had far too many differentials in terms of 47, I think we're up to now. And I think today was a perfect example of how some of those differentials eventuated. And we've heard from Councillor Sampson about the big rate rises in the Karamea area. And that's happened over the last 30 odd years that I've been on the council. And the council of the day has felt that that was unfair, that the services they were receiving were no different to anybody else, and so a differential was required. I'm not suggesting that we have a differential today, but I am suggesting that for those that want to know why we've got 47, this is a similar sort of reason as to why.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak on that? Councillor Reid.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Obviously, having declined the option to adopt the annual plan by default, I will be not accepting the rates which are to the end of hand.
Okay, nothing further. All those in favour, I'm not going to read them all out. Any against? That's carried. Yep. Okay, thank you, councillors. Thank you, staff, once again. That's the, yes. Yep, motions are all carried. Right, we move on to 7. Is the Three Waters Reform Better Off Funding Reappropriation? Okay, so this is as requested by councillors to come back to us with staff to come back with some options for the reappropriation of some of the better off funding from the Crown. Councillors have had a worksheet around a scoring worksheet effectively that scores the projects put up against the requirements effectively of the Better Off funding package from BIA, and we can just decide how we want to redistribute those funds. So we need to figure out how we best wish to do this. Councillor Reedy? Yep, I'd like to keep it quite tight though, and agree how we want to sort of rank them, or is there an appetite to rank them? Does staff want to speak at all about this? My understanding is that there is a bit of time pressure around confirming the 400,000 of the funding needs to be back into the pool, so that needs to be notified to DIA that the projects it was attached to are no longer happening. But aside from that, there is time for debate or not on how that's to be redistributed. I'll look to Penny. Do you have anything to add?
I'll just say a few words before we get into that. Just obviously a day for time post today, so I'm going to note for action in table 1, Karamea watershed is at 65k and 650k. I'm sure Councillor Sampson would love 650k for it. Well, correctly there, it's actually Karamea Reserve, not Karamea Water Supply. Karamea Reserve, because it's quite different. That it is not a Karamea Water Supply.
It's for the reserve.
So the title can be changed. So that's just one of the years.
Okay, Penny.
Okay, as the Mayor's just said, we don't have to decide today on the funding to go forward. We have got plenty of time. It would be good to get some direction from councillors on which directions you would like to go. So a number of projects have been put forward in this paper. We also just need to resolve that the 400 is back on the table. 100 of that was actually reassigned in the last meeting to go to the Westport critical water supply. So with the 650 from one it gives you 150 to actually discuss as to how you would like to go forward with that. What I would like to say is if there are some of those projects that you want to get rid of today, let's try and narrow it down, and then we can discuss either if you've got something you absolutely want to agree on today, or we can come back to this at a later date. So that's really kind of councillors as to how you want to proceed.
Okay, thank you. I'm just looking for. Well, look, let's just. I think. This is tricky, isn't it? So let's work through table 3. And see if there's anything in the initiatives that we don't wish to proceed any further with that we can eliminate. Councillor O'Keefe.
Just a question around that. It seems to be quite a bit of detail on Westport stuff, but then there's no kind of information on anything else as far as the Northern Buller goes. So you're looking at, there's information on Westport critical water supply, quite a bit of information on that. Point 2, Westport stormwater, wastewater, quite a bit of information on that. Repton camping ground initiative, so on and so forth, and then we get down to Knuckle swimming pool improvements. Reality fundraising centre, there's no information on that. So it's not, if you're going to be grading these on a sheet, where's the information that they can provide information for other things, but they can't provide information for that. It sort of seems a little bit unfair.
Yeah.
Could I just note that Councillor O'Keefe did send out an extra email this week detailing those 3 Northern Buller projects.
That's what I read, something all about the Knockable pool.
Yesterday, when requested by you, Joe, but that should have been really included in this to have a fair analysis to compare like apples for apples, or to have a look at all of it and have time to actually have a good read of it. Yeah.
Yeah, understand. Councillor Sampson.
No, well, I agree with that, and for that reason, I'd like to support that we deal with that 300,000 and hold the report over until we have a complete report, because I find this report quite inadequate in the fact that, just like has been said about the Northern Buller, I did ask, and I know it was over the top for the Waimangaroa water treatment. That report is not there. Again, with 6 weeks ago, just coming up 6 weeks, I also asked, like said at our last meeting, or when it came up, that water tanks and a platform for that to be on. There's no costing for that, so there's 2 things there that aren't there. And again, I think the only figures that we can take some credibility with the likes of the late figures from the Northern Buller and the Reapproriation figures, the other tabletop figures, and unfortunately they don't even sit on the table, because if you look at the 300 we're looking at, that started at 470,000, it actually cost 70,000. We look at the West Carrier water. I've got a report here that initially was going to cost 600,000, it cost 60,000. So with some of these tabletop, desktop figures, I think one hell of a lot more work needs to be done on them to bring them back into relevance. Because I can go through just the Waimangaroa treatment. I was told there are 3 farms already connected to that water supply. I have checked out there are not three farms connected to water supply. So it just throws figures out, $400,000 for a water tank. I spoke to the people that supply water tanks, those clip tanks, which are some of the more expensive ones, $1 million, a million litre tank, top of their range is 250,000, not 400,000 like in here. So that's just some of the examples that I would suggest that we could roll this over and come back to the
Yeah, no, so that's fine. Yeah. It's slightly more complicated than just the tank when you're talking about installing a water tank.
Look, I'm not an idiot.
Yeah.
And I fully understand that.
So you don't need to be
I take
disrespectful. I'm not being
objection
disrespectful to you, Councillor
I take
Sampson.
that back, so.
Do I need to stand up so you stop talking or not? Because I'm chairing this meeting. I was not being disrespectful to you. Your point is noted. What I was pointing out is that the installation of a water tank for a council is slightly more than picking up the phone and ordering the tank. It includes installation and site prep and engineering and all the rest of it. And you know that as well as I do.
My understand, my point.
Your point is taken that you would like to see this report come back and deferred to another month, and someone else has already raised that. I'm not disagreeing with you. We'll carry on the discussion and see where we land.
My point was that it was the water tank, nothing else. A water tank here for 400, where a similar water tank was 250 close.
Councillor Reedy.
Thanks, Mayor. Okay, thank you. First up, agenda item 7, 1 report purpose as well. The purpose of this report is to put forward options for consideration for reappropriation of 950,000 of funding for 3 wards and 4 better off as approved by the Council Resolution 29 June 22 and 28 April 23. We did not, by resolution, talk about 950,000.
Sorry, where are you? You've just lost me. Whereabouts? Sorry.
Right, if you go to report purpose, agenda item 7, number 1.
Yep.
Purpose.
Okay, right at the top. Yep.
Consideration for the reappropriation of 950,000 of funding, 3 waters better off funding as approved by council resolution. Now, that 950,000 said to be approved by resolution. Can someone tell me where that 950,000 was approved by council resolution 29 June 22 and 28 April 23? The wording is incorrect. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So the recommendation, the resolution was for it to come back to council with the options, which is what the report. No, but that was what the resolution was. Yeah. So. Which is what this report is. Oh, sorry. Do I need to explain? The report is giving effect to the resolutions made on those dates to come back to council with a list of better off funding to be reallocated by council. So that decision is for today. And I'm hearing that we're probably not in a position to make that decision, which is fine. We've indicated that there's no real pressure to do that. But yeah, point taken. But that was the intent of this report, because we weren't happy with the list of options last time. Here's a new list of options, but we have to, council has to decide. Absolutely.
Next one, table 2. Table 2, page 63, hopefully. We're talking about the original budget that's been mentioned before about smoke testing. So 70,000, originally 70,000, which is correct. 400 is. I've looked at the budget, I can't see the 23 budget where $70,000 was approved in the 22-23 budget. But it's immaterial really in the overall scheme of things. What I'm having problems with, accepting, is the fact that, we budgeted 70,000, we've overstated the amount by 400,000, but we've come in on the budget figure. These are what the desktop figures that we're using. What I'm being led to believe is that you've come in, that council have come in on budget $70,000. Therefore, we've got another. We actually got 400,000. 100 we've already applied elsewhere. Now we've got another 300,000. That's not correct. Where did this 70,000 come from? And I'm being told, that we budgeted 70,000 we've done the smoke testing, we've got all the results back, and it only came to 70,000. I don't believe that's correct. Can someone tell me that a budgeted number has come in exactly the same with the invoices? Can I have an explanation?
I'm just, you'll give me a second, I'm just trying to, letting you finish. Counts, Ms. Bicknell.
Yes, through the chair, my understanding is 50k has actually been spent, maybe 20k, and if you read that, it says the final estimate of smoke testing, not final budget. So there's 400, which is a really positive, back on the table to look for other projects. 100 of that is already reappropriated, 300k is back into the budget. So you've got opportunities here to spend 950k on community projects or other projects, which I'd say is a really positive place to be.
That's how I read it too, is that the budget was expected to be a lot more.
It was expected to be.
You found out that it was actually either it wasn't effective carrying on doing more of that smoke testing, or they completed a lot more of it for less than what they anticipated. And so they've reported back that actually there's budget that's unspent and you need to decide how you want to spend it. But that's it in a nutshell. Is that not how you're reading it, Councillor Reedy?
No, it's not, sorry, Mr. Mayor. Can I carry on, please?
Yep.
The other items, I'm not going to part this one for now. I don't accept what was said to me.
Well, Joe, I think we need to resolve that because I'm not sure what I need to explain how much any clearer. So it's basically
we originally had, please, Mr. Mayor, we originally had $400,000 down there. Apparently, unknown to me, was that we also had 70,000 of the budget. So we actually had 470,000. Now, remember, of course, that the one above, eligible to the budgeted amount, 650,000, which I've since found out, I'm correct in what I'm saying. But if the 70,000 was in the budget, then how come DIA approved 400,000 initially for smoke testing? I am being fed or misled with these numbers. You understand what I just said? I've been told 650 is now eligible because someone phoned DIA. Okay, and we said, oh no, we've already got that in the budget, we can't do that. But I've just been told now in here that $70,000 was in the 22-23 budget, but we also put in another 400,000 because we felt that $70,000 wasn't going to be enough.
Which is say the original criteria we were allowed to match to any budget that's in an AP on an long-term plan.
It's in the budget, it's the same with
only
me.
70k is in the budget.
Okay,
70k is left in the AP, which is why we cannot spend the 400 until that 70k is exhausted. Therefore, the 400k is back on the table for you to reappropriate.
which is the same scenario as what happened in Waimea.
And if you look back to the original paper that the previous council signed off, that 70k was actually in that budget since before.
Okay. Can I carry on, please? Just a couple of other observations, please.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Tankers purchase 215,000, table 3. Same. Now, for a tanker, for anyone to drive a tanker, they've got to be certified. Okay. Now, who in Westport? I know there's no one in Westport who is a certified driver. We have a person by the name of Storer who has got certification. He's in the process of buying at least one tanker. And here I am being asked to consider 215,000 for 2 tankers. They're going to sit up somewhere. We've got nobody qualified to be able to utilise those tankers. And at the same time, we've also got a person out of the district who's prepared to put his money up and purchase these tankers. Why? And before, can I just carry on again, please? About the type of tankers I know there. We've got the border. We've got now engineering professional services, advice for water site establishment of supporting works. I was under the impression that we're looking at the Westport of water, I'm sure it's the same. Rewiring $60,000, I can, for electricity, I can rewire a whole house for about $20,000. So I don't know what they're going to, where $60,000 comes from. And the other one, and now I've got this compliance. All these items I agree are necessary, but they've just come out of the woodwork. Why aren't these, why were they never considered as part of the original budget? Why are these coming through now? Like the regional council compliance monitoring money. Why now? We knew about it when the resource consent had to be renewed. This would have been part and parcel of the resource consent renewal. Why were we told today, the day that we're adopting an annual plan, and all these numbers, all these initiatives suddenly hit us bang on the day we have to do the annual plan? I'm recommending that this be part until July.
So they're not, this isn't related to the annual plan. So this isn't related to the annual plan. It was made quite clear at the start of this paper that there is no urgency to make this decision. This is the attempt to bring back what council asked for, which was a new list of initiatives. These aren't BAU initiatives. These are things that there's an opportunity to get funding for that again, you have to start somewhere. So these aren't detailed projects. They haven't been like any kind of procurement or high level analysis of the funding. That's the next stage.
Excuse me, Mr. Says annual plan. To get into budget, says annual plan. The annual plan is supposed to record what is proposed for the next 12 months.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. We've got it here where there's been external funding. So in terms of the RTS, we've got the infrastructure acceleration fund in here. These are plans.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm trying to say is that these are also plans. That it doesn't matter if it's BAU or extra funding, external funding. When one produces a plan, they put everything in there. They just don't do it piecemeal and then say, adopt this. Now we've got these other initiatives which we'd like you to look at. Am I not?
I'm kind of hearing what you're saying now, but I'm not sure, like, what I'm hearing is a lot of this isn't good enough. What I'm not sure is, so how do we instruct the staff to go forward then? Yeah, but that's easy. Park that, it's not a decision. So what do they need to bring to you in July is what I'm asking. Because I mean, that's the quandary we've got, like, because these aren't, so I don't know if we need to dive into how these projects get worked up, but they're not like ready to go to market projects. And so we don't have a resource sitting in the office to work up a full business case, procurement plan and all that for a project that in July we might say we're not going to proceed with. So I guess what I'm asking to you is in your professional opinion, how does one couch what are these projects in the community and how do we bring them through for a decision around this table? Because everything that's presented is you're not comfortable with. So
why
help me.
We discussed it back.
Beg your pardon?
My understanding was we discussed these reprioritization back in April, was it? We asked for a paper to come back in June.
With a new list, yeah.
With a totally new list. Yes. Well, why weren't these initiatives discussed back in April?
Because we didn't have the money. We rejected them. Council rejected the last list and it was to come back with a new list.
I'm not accepting that.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to be voting on it. But anyway, I think Councillor Phallip was next.
My first question is, when do these programs need to be underway?
There is the timeframe for DIA is everything has to be completed by the end of June 2027. Okay, so we have plenty of time, but bear in mind that if it's a large program, it could take a year to complete and needs some planning.
I just think as a community, if we have this money, at the moment, it's not very sensible to spend it on water infrastructure when potentially we're not going to have to spend that money at all. So if we could potentially delay it till we have a bit more clarity with the water infrastructure, I'd rather not spend a cent over the water that we need to and put the money towards like a cultural hub or something that the community is going to get a bit more value out of. That's just my opinion to share to the table.
Cool. Sounds like progress. Councillor O'Keefe.
Yeah, just recommendation is that we just have some more, everyone has time to read the information that was left out. But also, Penny, just that, 0.8, the Muckaw rugby field fencing, that was actually already agreed on. We can take number eight out. So it was just to deliberate on. Excellent.
Councillor Naylor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move that the 400,000 of better off funding that was to do with the smoke testing be taken out of there and reallocated. That 100,000 of that 400,000 goes to the Westport critical water supply, and the balance of 300,000 be added to the better off funding, Three Waters better off funding options that we're going to consider at some later date.
Okay.
And that number 8 be taken out. The Muckaw be taken out.
Okay. Did you get that, Gina? Cool. Do we have a seconder?
Yeah.
Seconded, Councillor Webb.
I thought we had already resolved to reallocate the 100,000. So we don't need to do this.
This is an additional 100, isn't it?
No. So we're just putting the 300,000 back into the bigger pool.
I think it's 150.
Sorry, just to be clear.
So just to clarify, we just do need to make sure that 400 is taken out completely, and then we reallocate 100 of that 400. We've already taken 650 out, so you end up with 950. So maybe it would be clearer to do a resolution that just reads, and I wrote something earlier, that the city has authority to discontinue the 400k stormwater wastewater project so the funds can be reallocated at a later date. Because we've already agreed to the 100k.
So the 100's already been done at a previous meeting.
Yes. We resolved that later.
Okay.
I'm just moving it now to avoid all doubt.
Yeah. Well, that's fine. Let's just do it. Let's just do it as you go.
Makes sense.
It's very clear what that is, in my view. Okay. Okay, Joe, you can
So I
talk
didn't have an
well.
opportunity to speak when we're going around the table. I just wanted to add one thing. I think all the community projects should go into a fund which could go into like the revitalisation as extra to boost that, and even if we have to have a special round around the funding, because I think that gives an opportunity to evaluate all those community projects. For instance, I know Charleston's working very hard on their development plan, which they've been working over for a couple of years now. So it'd be really nice to pull all those community projects together and look at it, prioritise it. So I'd be in favour of adding what is just called whether it's revitalisation fund as one of the options rather than all of separate little.
So good idea, and I like it. I think let's deal with this. We'll get it voted, and I think we'll have a quick discussion to try and provide some direction to staff what we want to see when the next list comes through. So comes through. So this is hopefully Councillor Reedy can describe some of the things he wants to see on the list as well. But that's a good one. So it's been moved and seconded. Everyone clear what that is? All those in favour? Do you want me to read it back?
Please.
Sorry.
I've got Christmas.
Yeah, so the Chief Executive has authority to discontinue so that the funds can be reallocated at a later date. That's not all. Here we are, up here. Yeah. So it's moved Councillor Naylor that 400,000 of better off funding be taken out of the current allocation and to be reallocated. And that 100,000 of that is allocated to the critical water supply Westport. Moved on, seconded. Webb, happy with that?
And there was 300,000 to be dealt with at a later date, and number 8 project comes off.
I didn't carry on to read that. Yeah. And the 300,000 will be allocated to Three Waters Better Off funding at a later date. Project 8 be removed. Moved Nail on, seconded. Webb. All those in favour? Any against? That one's unanimous. Okay, thank you. Now, just quickly for, I guess, is this useful? I think to have a quick discussion on what you want to see come back in that list. I quite like Councillor Howard's idea of a recommendation, and this is just for staff to work on how this could be done and if it meets the criteria or not, but a fund, not unlike our community-led revitalisation fund, that a portion of that be sat across for community projects to be brought forward and assessed against a criteria. Whether or not that works, is that what you're getting at, Councillor Howard? Because we don't know, there might be a number of community, wellbeing projects that are out there that have some merit, some planned strategy already behind them that we haven't fleshed out, and it'd be nice to assess them against the other ones all at the same time and create some balance. Who knows? Is there something in Maruia or Springs Junction or Reefton, Ngangahua that would add to the community wellbeing or resilience or something else that links to the fund that could be put in as a contestable fund? Don't know if that works, but something perhaps for the team to explore. Is that what you were getting at, Councillor Howard? Anyone else got any issue with that? Is one of the options to be on the list?
Presumably, Mr. Mayor, we've allocated an amount in the new budget that would go into that 950 as well, so that would be an even bigger fund. Is that what we're with community revitalisation funding?
Yes, we already have our regular annual plan line item that council's doing, but this could be an additional fund. Call it something slightly different, yeah.
What's proposed at this stage, so.
I think we need to rely on staff advice as to whether that's possible, but I think you get the intent of what we'd perhaps like to see, an option around something like that. What else did I hear? I got the sense there was a little bit of urgency on the Reefton campground cabins idea. Is that something it still needs to be in there, but is another month going to be an issue with that?
Well, time is of the essence with that project, but it is what it is. If we can't get a resolution today, we have to wait another month.
Okay.
In terms of that, one of those projects talked about a critical water supplier, and the word critical normally means pretty vital, current, and I'd be interested to know how critical is, because if that's the case, it's the only one of the lot that say critical, instead other ones say resilience and forward planning, but that does say critical enough, and to me that sounds like a priority word.
Yeah, and there's some grouped together in that list that I think are kind of difficult groupings, like the idea of exploring the idea of an in-district landfill or something was linked to something else, which I think might be quite nice just to see that split out, because one of them I thought sounded like quite a good idea, but I didn't really think doing boreholes all over the district for small district water supplies and all of that is something we need to hurry up and do, because it's going to sit with the entities perhaps. So yeah, perhaps just a bit more definition around those, and it might even be quite a long list of smaller projects. Deputy Mayor Basher.
I was just going to say I support what Penny said before. I mean, what a lovely position to be in, regardless, having money that we didn't expect to be able to apply to for the Buller residents. So it's a good thing rather than a bad thing.
Okay. Councillor Howard.
Just a few things. I agree with what Emily said. I put it as number one priority, things like the stormwater, but I really have doubts about putting that out of this fund. It's not really what it's intended for, and I'd rather see that those two things done by debt funded and hopefully get that debt recovered. The one around the reducing the emergency supply, because I sort of think having one water tank on hand, we may not ever need it, having one's better than none, but having two just sitting there, and there's other alternatives. The landfill, I don't wonder if that really warrants a whole new feasibility. There was quite a comprehensive one done when Smart Environmental took it on, so it's all got a format of that analysis, and surely it could be a relatively quick exercise to check, what transport costs are. We know that there's the compliance even here, so it's not it's got a lot of those base things, and we're getting a very ballpark figure. Is it gonna stack up? Because why do a full analysis if a ballpark thing's gonna tell us if the rank that it's not a goer, and I suspect it's not a goer with all the compliance now. So I'd rather take out the landfill. I had a few questions too around like the compliance, should that just be in the water sort of bucket? Is it something that we have to do and apply, or is it listeners to East Coast Regional Council, but we still accept they're putting the rule in.
So this is for our compliance to consents we hold with them, is what I understand. Yeah.
And also we put on the list around the north option. Just to clarify, I think my understanding that was probably down the list of priorities around our water resilience. Yeah. So I'll be taking that out. So I actually basically got down to or I put down the resilience package, the critical water supply, the storm water, which I really think should probably come out of 3 waters, and then I put 13 for the Reefton campground and a revitalisation fund.
All right. Well, that's good. But we're not much point going through the scores because we're not discussing it now. So that's cool. So that's a little bit of steer. I'm going to getting close to the last word, and I'm going to give it to Councillor Reedy because I want to hear some solutions from her. Councillor Fowler.
Just to add to the potential ideas, I don't know what it would look like, but the better off funding relates to enabling housing development and growth. If there was a particular project that the council had in mind, that I would support that too. To add to the list.
Yep. Good. Sounds strategic. Yep. Okay. One more.
The feasibility study into the community hub and cultural centre, that will come out in December. So we'd really like to have some startup money. If that stacks up and we want to progress, having some seed money would be very useful. So whether that could be part as an option.
Okay, cool. Right, Councillor Reedy, final word on this, if you like.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I haven't got a road path forward at the moment because I haven't analysed it completely. All I know is that regarding 650,000 for Waimangaroa, I personally have been misled on that. I was told that DIA came back to BBC to say it was not qualified. As it turned out, BBC contacted DIA. I have been misled quite considerably, the same way I've been misled by that, and so I'm not offering anything at the moment until I've got time to think about it.
Right.
That's where I stand at the moment. Yeah.
Thank you. Rightio, that's been moved to second. We can
just clarify where we're at because we've got all these other projects that aren't on here. Are we coming back to everything that's been mentioned today? Or?
Yep. So that was just to give staff a bit of guidance as to what they could what they can bring back to council for us to consider. That was the intent because they've come to us with the list. We've rejected the list. So there's no point just bringing that list back.
I don't believe we have rejected the list.
We haven't rejected the list of items, but we've rejected that list is ready to be discussed. And so I think we're trying to provide some additional direction for staff so that what they bring back next time is what you want to see. And I'm not judging that. I'm trying to get some progress out of the room because we don't want to come back this time next month and just have another, well, we didn't see this on the list and we didn't know that was coming and all of that, because we want to get past that and get on with it. Councillor Howard.
I think they need to be brought back to the workshop to take a recommendation to back to council.
Yep.
So I think we really need this open banter to discuss the proposals.
Yep, sounds good.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, just very quickly, when you talk about a workshop, we know you're attending the LGNZ meeting. Time's getting quite compressed, we've had to move the meeting, council meeting to the following Monday. I understand what council's saying, but we just need to be mindful of the fact that July seems to be a little bit constrained in terms of time.
Do we need an action point on council's action point list for that, or how do we want to deal with that? So everyone knows what's coming back when.
And we just give that clarity, yeah.
So let's do that. So just the feeling then it needs to be August.
Sure.
I don't know, it's getting awfully drawn out. There's some projects that I think are, that I'd like to see us be able to get on with, but council.
If anybody has got like community projects that like to forward, please do forward them. We really didn't have a lot of community projects come out.
Okay, there's the offer. Present all offers. Okay, so I'm thinking August is too far out. I'm just thinking likes of the things like the Reefton campground in particular. I know there's quite a critical need for shortage of there. That plan appears quite well kind of thought out on the ground. Councillor
Would
Farr?
anyone be willing to vote on that today? Would anyone be willing to vote on the Reefton campground today? Because I'd can put it forward as an agenda item that we could pass that money for the campground. I'm happy to do that. Second.
That's where I was kind of going when I was trying to get the list prioritised, but there was no appetite to. I was happy to go with the meeting. I'm just thinking, is there any issue standing orders wise? Can anyone advise? Given we've resolved what we've resolved, can we revisit a particular? I'm just.
If Reefton's critical, I think it needs to be dealt with sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
And the whole.
Where is it? There it is. So Reefton campground is $300,000. There's quite a bit of detail with that one. Councillor Howard?
Just understand the budget, because I sort of had it in mind that maybe we're alongside some of those other projects, like sort of 200,000 out there, but just how critical is that amount? About understanding more detail. I'm just not sure how to commitment.
Yeah. Look, I'm prepared to go with the mover. You've moved Reefton campground. We might have to just deal with the resolution a little bit somehow. Everyone understands what that is. $300,000 be made available to the Reefton campground. Moved Councillor Farley, seconded Councillor Weston.
A maximum of, because of course it is a desktop figure, so
yeah, well, I mean, the project's clearly a lot more than that. That they're looking to, that's a
Probably $1 million project.
No, they're looking at,
you know, like when you go to tender.
okay, moved and seconded. This, we've talked about this long enough. All those in favour? Any against?
I'm against, and I think we're allowed to talk.
You haven't been allowed to talk. Come on, Councillor Reedy, please. The motion is carried. Thank you. So we just. So thank you. Just it's extremely difficult to chair these meetings like this, I'm afraid. But anyway, I'll do my best here. Councillor Howard.
I guess I'd like to understand, because this is going to be quite good revenue with the leases coming in that start with just, I'd like to see that shared between all the further housing development rather than say the property that's just going to go to the Reefton campground, which it's really community plot and it's around housing. So 2-year leases they're going to get from these campers. It'd be nice to see it back into a pool that supports housing in some way.
Yeah, I'm not sure that
It's
goes
in the
that far.
detail, so we haven't sort of taken down this.
Yeah.
So just like keeping a circular economy going on.
Yeah. I'm comfortable with the stage that is at. It's clearly a much bigger project than what council's just resolved. It's been resolved. So you've got that okay?
Great, next one.
Yep. Okay, and the rest of it, we'll come back to, let's make that August. Yeah, so an action point, council action point, that the remainder of the Better Off allocation report come to the August council meeting, and that a workshop be held prior. And dates will have to be worked with the team to suit that. Okay, thank you. I wouldn't mind a 5-minute break. Does anyone else feel like one? Okay, we've been going a couple of hours, so I'll adjourn the meeting for 5 minutes, and we will back in 10 minutes.
They are like a rock.
5:35, please.
Are you up to say more things now?
My,
We're up to agenda item 8, aren't we? Yes. Okay, we're all good. Righto, reconvene the meeting at 5:35, being on time. Thank you, everybody. Agenda item 8 is the statements of intent of council controlled organisations. There are 3 to adopt. This is usually reasonably straightforward. Any comments on those? Councillor Howard.
Control 6, I don't know. Somebody else who's not on the reference.
Anyone else? Councillor Reedy? Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just regarding the BRO, I'm against the 60%, the drop from 60% to 45%. They are a loss-making organisation anyway. I don't see why we need to be giving them more encouragement. I believe the 60% should stay for BRO only. And also, I'm not in favour of, at this point in time, of increasing the management fee. I appreciate it doesn't come into effect until 24-25, and I believe we should be waiting before we pass a resolution on that increase in management fee. We should wait for the long-term plan. That's for that one there. And airport, if I may, please. The airport.
Airport's next agenda item. It's next agenda item. Yep.
Yes.
So we will discuss it, but we'll keep it in their swim lane here. Okay. Just quick clarity on the equity reduction in equity, debt to equity, Douglas. That is for the group, isn't it? Not for specifically BRO.
No, it is then rolled through into each of the SIs from, I suppose, a consistency basis, and as much as I can concur with Councillor Reid's statement, in terms of managing the group finances, it's probably easy to consistently keep a position there. So if you felt as a council you wanted to send a statement back on BRL from that percentage, then that would be fair too. Just why I'm up, just like to comment that if you read on page, just above options, we've got in there, Ellen and I, that we don't disagree with that question about fees, a bit more work to do, but what we're saying is, hey, we get it in the SOI, and it allows that for some part to occur, and it means when we get to the SOI for the next year, that's a different discussion, and we'll regularly put that out covering statement back to BHL, etc. So, we think it's reasonable, but it's not a given, and that's what we flag clearly to BHL.
Thank you. Councillor Howard, you've
I was
got
just going to concur with those comments, but also on page 90, under the attachment 1, the addition, they've got in the last sentence, the group will remain cognizant of assisting the shareholder with fulfilling, and they've just got cultural requirements as part of its full well-being, but I just think it should be fulfilling its full well-beings, because I've had numerous discussions with them how our goals as local government should align with Buller Holdings goals. So we just took out those few words and asked if they could just make it for well-beings.
I see what you're saying. Yep. No issue with that. Just aligns with the legislation. Yep. Did you get that, Douglas?
Just clarifying, the word we're removing is the cultural.
Fulfilling, yes, just got cultural, that's only well before, so I just like it taken down and just put fulfilling its full well-being.
I hear that, yes. The council maybe reach meeting just move that way.
No issue there. Any other questions on the statements of intent? Otherwise, I think I'd like to just move those as there's one recommendation as it's listed there. No other questions? Move to council. Oh, you moved it.
You moved it.
Did I? Well, I'm happy to. Happy to second. Cool. That's council adopts the draft statements of intent for Buller Holdings Limited, Westbury Services Limited, and Buller Recreation Limited for the year ending 30 June 2024, noting the discussion that Douglas has taken notes on, and we'll cover off in a cover letter to them, I understand, and a slight change to that wording. Nothing further?
Yeah, I understood the process. We got the draft several months ago, and that was the opportunity to make comments, changes, and now this is finalisation. So not sure whether we can make any changes now. We've had that opportunity, but we went back to them. I raised a few comments then in terms of the dividend to the council. I felt that if they were the presentation that we had showed huge gains in revenue and in profit, and yet the dividend was staying the same. But and I thought that had gone to them as well. So not sure whether we can change anything at the moment.
Clarity, I don't know. It's fairly. It's really a wording, just a word.
I'm starting to say that it is reasonably minor wording, because it's really having CEO and discretion. So if CEO of BHL, Mr. Scanlon, felt that, yeah, okay, it's gone, but he thinks it needs to go back to the board, then we'll probably say, no, don't worry, we'll just accept it and sort it out next year. So we just take that pragmatic view hopefully on that, but I don't care with the process.
Yeah. But you're correct, the process was as you described, but this is a minor wording change. I'm not comfortable. All those in favour? Any against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Right, statement of intent, Westport Airport. Councillor Reedy, you already in the queue for that one?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Page, what's the page number? 134, maintenance and employment. We look at got the yellow and green symbols there, 23, 24, 24, 25. What I'd like to know is why are we 24, 25, 25, 26? Those numbers reflect the monitoring plan, not a forward budget. So why are we making amendments of about $40,000 to a long-term plan? Please.
Yeah, technically, of course, it's a statement of intent for the airport. Well, in reviewing this with the staff and the Ministry of Transport, just identified that we had set the employment costs in the 23-24 year, so the one that's not with the colours in it, at the level we need for staffing for that year and also going forward. Well, what they said is, well, how come you didn't adjust the next 2 years? We look back and we actually got a point. We had, and this is why we amended our repairs and maintenance to look at, and we looked back 3 or 4 years to make sure that 40,000 number was fine. So we are just tidying up, in our view, an administrative or an accounting sort of balance between the budgets for those 2 years. It's just more to reflect what we expect to see in 24-25 and 25-26.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I understand what you see. These are long-term, FTP numbers. I'm not aware that we can even change these at this point in time. I'm happy to be corrected. I'm just a bit concerned that we anything to do with the long-term plan, any changes that we consult on. But please correct me.
Richard, remembering, of course, our only plan that we adopted in the just an hour or two ago, we also had variations between the annual plan and the long-term plan, admittedly in the 23-24 financial year. Generally, when we're doing your third year of your long-term plan, we're not on 40 years forward to 10. In the case here, though, with the SOI for the airport, we are able to do that and make that just. And it's, I think the key thing about the airport is not so much these numbers, they are important, more probably critical to us is our rate payer input, which is the figure that's definitely not changing in those years. Probably even more what I'm looking to work with, particularly Mrs. Trigger and the airport staff down there, is trying to make sure that this deficit that we actually improve between ourselves and MOT to get a few things sorted out in terms of rock protection, that type of thing. We actually make sure we get that funded long term as well. We put the airport back into a balanced situation. So it is taking a longer to position to make sure we've got out and understand our financials.
Just one other question for my own CapEx business here. There's quite a drop between the draft and the final. as we can see on there. The car park originally was going to be the resealing. That looks as if it's been dropped out. Fencing has gone down by 19,000. I know we're looking at a new beacon and other assets have gone up to 5,000. So what's been why are we changing the original draft capex proposals?
Yeah, so thank you, Councillor Reading, through your worship. It's a good point. We should have done a little more commentary. I just want to highlight the car park issues development in this current 22-23 financial year, and working with the airport manager, we identified our fencing need in terms of necessity to try and get funding and some of our key items. So if you ever have flood water, we've got that as protected as we can on site. But the issue that came up was this beacon. If we can bring it forward, we'll bring it, but only undertake the work if the beacon knows showing signs of failure. And then trying to be prudent, just having a little bit of contingency for other assets. So we're trying to be as tight as we can be on the assets in this final thing of 22-24, trying to hopefully some sensible discipline for ourselves and our partner, the Ministry of Transport. So it's just taking into account our most recent information and putting it into the SLA.
Cool. Anything else?
One last one, please. As far as capex is concerned, is that all the original cost? Is that all 50-50 by MOT? Yes. We've got 100% here at the moment from that plan.
Yeah, but these are expenditures, Councillor Reading, not funding source.
Sorry?
These expenditure lines, not the funding lines.
Correct, but what I'm trying to get at, though, with due respect, Mr. Mayor, is these, I'm not talking about funding, but ultimately these costs will be met 50-50 by MOT and EDC.
Yes.
That was my question, yeah, including the capex.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Just while we're heading on, we don't get this one. First one starting from a second still, I never said we've got quite a few, so trying to focus well, so we want to keep focus on that. Between ourselves and MOT, it take a few years to school, but that is part of our focus on trying to keep that cost in our legal standpoint.
Okay. Westport Airport Authority, anyone want to move? Councillor Deputy Mayor Basher, a council adopt the statement of intent for the Westport Airport Authority for the year ending 30 June 2024. Seconded. Councillor Grafton, any further discussion? All those in favour? Any against? Carried, unanimous, thank you. Right, these are the remits, agenda item 10. These are just to provide direction for me, who will be the delegate at the AGM of LGNZ as part of the conference week over there, or a few days over there. And I'm just trying to, okay. So we have, it's all there, right? So the first one we'll deal with is the election of officers. I'll be guided by the room on all of these votes because I'm your delegate. So there will be a vote for the president of LGNZ. There are three options. Mayor Gordon was in town on Monday, Tuesday, I think it was, with the opportunity for councillors to meet just for open discussion. So myself and Councillor Howard turned up and had a chat to Dan. Mayor Sam is scheduled to come and see you later in the month, I think. And there's been various emails and things circulated and shared with you from the other mayors. They are all of the candidates that have been approaching, seeking support. So guidance on LGNZ president vote, please.
I'd just like to see a South Island one, so that we either see or Dan, because that would balance off the vice of both the North Island ones.
Okay.
Could you say everyone vote?
Yeah, I'll move them each in a minute if no one else wants to do it. So those in favour of Mayor Sam Broughton.
Canterbury. Canterbury one?
Yeah.
Both Canterbury.
Dan Gordon. There's one. And Mayor Neil Holden. No votes. Okay, so Sam Broughton will get our thing. Cool. Vice President, there are two there. Campbell Barry from Lower Hutt and Paul Southgate, Hamilton City. Those in favour, but this is for Vice President. One is required, I think. Yep. Mayor Campbell Barry. 1, 2, 3, 4. Mayor Paula Southgate. 2, 3, 4, 5. So Mayor Southgate gets that one. Are you getting these down nicely? Yeah. Because I need, that's always a pain to take them. Oh, okay, I'm reading these not from the recommendations. Yeah. Okay. Does that matter?
Well, you have done that.
Okay, sorry folks, I just didn't get far enough through the report to see that. So we've done the president and vice president, that's sorted. Okay, recommendation 1 is we receive the attached remits for consideration and provide direction on voting. So this is for the remits. I move that way. Seconded, please. Seconded, Councillor Reedy. All those in favour? Any against? That's carried unanimously. Okay, we've dealt with the president. Let's just move it. That council considers the candidates for eligibility in president and vice president election and have provided direction on voting.
I abstain, please.
You abstain?
I'll move.
Okay, moved Councillor Nailon, seconded Councillor O'Keefe. All those in favour? Any against? That's carried and that direction is provided. Okay, and finally, the delegate. You'll go to the remits in a minute. Just confirm formally who the delegate will be at the AGM on the 26th of July and mandate me to vote as per council resolutions.
I'll move the delegates, the mayor.
Who seconded? Councillor Weston. Yes.
I thought there were 2, we're allowed 2, is that right? What I was reading through. Or that's just for the remits?
I think it's one can attend.
Is that okay to?
One can attend and one can be an observer, isn't it?
3 votes.
No delegates.
But only one person votes, though, but you hold 3 votes.
3 delegates. 3 delegates.
Are you happy? I haven't found it yet. Are you happy?
I'll be guided by the table.
I've attended on my own, but I'm happy for anyone who wants to.
What happens if you're sick on the day? Can anybody step in for you, or does it have to be a council resolution?
I've got them nominated. I wish I had the form in front of me now. There was a form sent out that said who those people are to be.
188 is the form registration.
What does it say?
Presiding delegate's name, other delegate's name.
Okay, so put a second delegate down of those who know that they're attending.
You can have up to 3.
You can have up to 3.
Okay.
Yeah, go on, put me down.
Councillor, so we also have so I'm the voting delegate, is the way it works. Is that correct? And we have Councillor Farlett and Councillor Howard or Webb, I don't mind.
You get 3 votes.
And Councillor Webb are the 3 delegates. I think that covers that off. Sorry, you will get to.
Hello.
You have coffee time. Okay, so that's that. Right. We just have to go to the actual remits now. Are we clean?
Did we vote on that? We've got to move and second for the delegates. But
Okay, so we vote. The delegate is myself, Councillor Farlett and Webb are the 3 delegates. Moved Nailon, seconded Weston. All those in favour? Any against? That one's carried unanimously. Right now, just provide direction. You've already resolved for me to vote as per this direction. So that's fine. So direction on remit number 1. Support or not support, is that the how it works? Are we in support of remit number 1?
Yeah, I think we are.
All those in favour? Any against? Okay, so number one, we support. Number two, rates rebate, raising the threshold for rates rebate eligibility. All those in favour of supporting that? We are in support. Yes. 3, a remit roading transport maintenance funding. That's around lobbying political parties, crowdfunding for state highway and local road maintenance budgets. We in support. Any against that one? That one we are supporting. 4, local election accessibility. Make central government candidates eligible for election access fund.
It sort of makes sense.
It's already in central government, but not local.
Yeah, it sort of makes sense.
So that's for candidates with disabilities.
That's most of us.
Yeah, John.
What up? Okay, all those in support of the accessibility for candidates? Any against that one? Okay, we're in support of that one too. And what else have we got? 5, ability for co-chairs at formal meetings. Enable councillors to better use of co-chair arrangements for standing committees, joint committees and subcommittees. Are we in support of that?
Yeah, I think.
Ooh, I'm not getting, all those in favour, hand up. Okay, yep, we're supporting that, that's fine. Well, we don't really need a number, it's just indicative. Okay, 6, parking infringement penalties. Yeah. Ooh, I'm getting excited. All those in favour of council setting penalties for parking infringements. Yeah. All those in favour of that?
You're in rural, aren't you? So what do you care? What do you care?
Those who don't support that?
I think it's pretty pointless, we don't have the parking meter persons.
No, but what, you're voting national, right? National.
There should be meter park, should be determined within a council value.
How is the like in terms of infringements generally that council can issue? How are they normally set? Is this consistent with normal setting, or do we normally set those ourselves?
That is an incredibly good question. I'm not sure. But I guess having the ability to set them themselves would be useful. Should we go down that path?
You could do it by household.
I'm sure there'll be, okay.
Do some differentials.
Okay. So let's have a, do we need a bit of discussion on this one? Because it's almost fairly finely balanced, councillor.
Yeah, if we start setting them, we're opening ourselves up. I think it needs to be independent of council. We enforce them if we want to. Obviously, some councils do, some don't. But the actual penalties, I think, need to be set outside of council.
Okay, thank you.
I support that argument.
Okay, is there anyone who wants to speak in favour of this? Okay, so are we, those who are in favour of supporting parking infringement penalties? Those who are against this remit? Okay, we're against that one, thank you. That was useful. Rural and regional public transport. That's around, yes, that's kind of a, I guess we would support though if it was available. So those in support of that remit? Yep, anyone against it? We're in support of that one as well. 8, establishing resolution service. For what? Just about need a hotline.
Just another job.
Do we support establishing a resolution service for independent process to handle complaints or concerns?
Yeah.
Support of, okay. Okay, anyone who's fundamentally opposed and wants to argue differently?
I just don't think it's necessary. It's another group of people.
It's local government codes. So I'm not quite sure what that is. Is that actually to do with code of conduct?
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
So rather than the councils dealing with themselves, an independent body.
That's good. Let's come up with the meetings, obviously when this happen.
Okay. All right. Okay, so I'll get what it is now a bit more. Okay, so those, are we in favour of work towards establishing a resolution service for things like code of conduct complaints against local government. Those in favour of supporting that remit? Those who are against supporting it? Okay, we'll be in support. And 9, earthquake prone buildings. Yep, I think we're in support of, I'll be in support of that one. Against, okay, we're supporting 9. KiwiSaver contributions for elected members. To enable councils to make contributions to elected members' KiwiSaver scheme. I'm not particularly in favour of that. Anyone in favour of that? Ooh, gosh. The wage earners.
Especially for people that are giving up, for younger people giving up a full-time career to go into local government and say they become mayor or a significant, that's your main income. Then I think what an MP sitting around at local, like in central government can get KiwiSaver, then why can't, it encourage more people to, especially younger people, to become elected members. That's a huge thing to consider when you become a councillor. You're giving up a huge amount of income.
I'll go to Graham.
Yeah, I presume it's going to come out of the total remuneration package. So, as long as I'm not expecting ratepayers to come up with an additional 3%, that's fine, but not on top of the remuneration.
No.
Yeah, so I guess that will come out in when this is eventually worked up into some kind of policy. Councillor Howard?
I was just gonna say, when we had that conversation with Dan, he said he had been in local government for 20 years, talking about retirement, so he should have a right to a retirement fund, the same as, anyone else in other employment. They, probably more applicable to ones that get more remuneration than we do as a small council, where we have to have additional income.
Okay, Con, Councillor Reedy.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. I hear what Councillor's saying regarding, we're talking here about also employer contribution. About that's not reflected in the remuneration authorities determinations at the moment. That's what we pay. So there is a possibility that ratepayer will fund the employer contribution. Although I agree entirely with the fact that with what Councillor Webb's saying, taxpayers funding the MPs. So the question is, do we want to see the ratepayer funding our employer contribution, even though we are contractors? And in that regard, I've been a contractor for a number of years. I never had any KiwiSaver because it was my choice to either contribute or not to contribute. So that's it comes back to the ratepayer.
Well, I'll just point out that what I was getting at was that 3% employer contribution would come out of the total remuneration package. So that would have to come off the top, and then your employee contribution would come out of what was left, so that there was no extra cost to
my argument. Sorry, Mr. Leader. My argument there is that determination is for payment to the councillor. So therefore, there needs to be a change to the way the authority.
That's right. You did right, Councillor, but that's what the remit is seeking. Is there an appetite to explore whatever those changes are? Because that's effectively, this changes the relationship that the council elected members have as they're effectively, it's changing, we're a contractor effectively now. It turns it into more of an employee relationship, or else you need to legislate as to how you deal with that. So you've identified an issue, but that would be what this would have to tease out. Okay. Those in favour of KiwiSaver? Those who are against? Okay, so we're in favour of KiwiSaver being explored. Okay, cool. Thanks. Just to be clear, 11 audit fees in.
Yeah, I'm in favour of that.
Council audit fees. Yep. Okay. Anyone
KiwiSaver
with that? Okay, we support 11. We've dealt with the president and vice president. Just checking. We have got all that recorded. We've got okay, and you've recorded some of the actual all the remits. Excellent, thank you. Okay, thank that dealt with that agenda item. 11, we move on to the customer stakeholder satisfaction survey result. Recommendation is to receive the report for information. I think I'll move and second that if we can, and then we'll just discuss it if we need to. Move that way, Deputy Mayor Basher, seconded Councillor Howard. All those in favour? Any against? That one's carried, thank you. Is there any discussion on that?
Mr. Mayor, I think we have to change our approach to this because the sample size is just too small. So even though it's a KPI for the CE, we really need to change our approach to it, I think.
So that's something we can discuss. I think customer satisfaction still should be a KPI, or it's seeking to achieve that for our customers, ratepayers, residents. But yeah, exactly. The measuring of that is something that has to be discussed with the chief executive. I think how that's done. Councillor Fowler.
I thought it was interesting how many people said they liked emails as the council communicating with them, and I wondered if there could be, and it may already exist, I don't know, some sort of way to subscribe to council updates. You know, how Meta sends us an update now and then, someone can subscribe if they want to see these extra updates.
I believe we've got several subscription lists and lots of different things. We just have to make sure we provide some active people are signing up so we can send them information. So yes, we have those available, and it is one of the things that we like to update people with.
So on it. Hands gone down. Councillor Howard.
Just also noting that too on the means of communication, we've got a heavy reliance on Facebook, and yet that's one of the least preferred options.
Councillor Webb.
Just I guess acknowledging that it was a large amount of money to do this survey, so it was a little bit disappointing that we didn't get the sample size as we thought we did. A suggestion I thought was that if we are doing, as a council is interacting in some sort of service, a bit like when you go to a shop, you go to Noel Leemings, purchase something, they email you back, a survey, maybe looking at some of the timely kind of surveys you could do when you're interacting. For instance, if you're going in to pay a bill, or would you, maybe there's some, would you like to fill in the survey or ask them some key, narrowing that down, that they could tick a box, or, collecting, I guess, information all the time, and it's timely when people are actually engaging with the council, or following up on some people. Maybe that would be a better use of time, staff time, or something that we've got, here's the month, here's a list of people, or I'm just going to randomly select 5 people to ring up and just inquire, how was your interaction or something. Maybe, like $12,000, I think it was a large amount of money for not a huge amount of useful information, I thought. Just a suggestion maybe for the future.
Just to
How did I miss you?
Councillor Webb, thank you. So I've been involved in the 3 surveys that the council has run for the customer satisfaction, and I completely agree and endorse what you've said, that I'm very keen to look at different options of capturing the satisfaction, and I think we can do it for less, so it is a key project that I want to be involved in, so thank you.
Okay, Colin.
Just very quickly, who's going to collect all this information? At the moment, we're like $15,000 that it cost us. All the work's done by them, and it's collected through technology. What I'm hearing from you, Councillor, is a manual process. A piece of paper, or tick this and tick that, and the piece of paper goes back. Someone has to collate it. We run the risk of being lost, and we run the risk of what happened with the computer system-based survey. But what is the best option? And I believe it's been discussed here. Shows looking at various options. I believe we should be looking at a paper going forward, because we've got another 2 years before we start looking at it, and maybe in the new year, or whenever we
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the options, whether that needs to be come right to this table or what, I don't know. I think it's the KPI of the CEO. It may come through in the CEO updates when they come through next, obviously for council feedback on how that's done. It's 2 years before we do it again, isn't it? So we've got a bit of time. But there may be some, spot checks or something that we could do in the interim. Anyway, good discussion. I think everyone agrees it's a work on, which is good. We should be seeking to achieve that. Okay, that was moved and seconded, dealt with. So agenda item 12, it was just to receive the report. Councillor Eadie, sorry. Agenda item 12 is the acting CEO report. And he's going to fill us in.
He's going to suggest that you take that report as read. The information in it, I think at the time of writing that, we were still waiting on the local government changes. I would imagine you've all had a look at that online and the information there, but happy to take any questions. But most of what I know of these reforms is in that paper.
Councillor Sampson.
On page 245, appendix 2, for the special purpose road, you've got a team approach led by Sean Hubbard. Who's he from?
Mike he's a consultant that has documented TA for a long period of time and was recommended to us as a consultant that would work with us to do this. So between Westland and ourselves, we've engaged with them to facilitate in the discussions and also the program works that take us back to NZ.
So where is he based?
He's based out of I think he's out of Dunedin. So he's
well, he's really going to know a lot about Champion Bluff and special purpose roads.
He has worked with Westland for quite a while on various other programs, so he understands these areas well, and he's dealt with them around New Zealand, so he does know the eastern mountains. And he has been up here to review L1, and he will be coming back for some more talks.
I certainly hope so, because in the past when I've seen some of the whole lot has been remiss, like even letters going to government, not even the right population within our community and some of the services and the impact. So, and hence our rates jumping up the way they are, we really do want to get a service.
Noted. For Councillor Eadie.
Just I'm asking if anyone's there. He's very questions for someone. And I'm heard that he's coming up here to do some reviews on it. So where's that cost like?
This SPR work.
It comes out of our roaming funding. So we have allowances in our roaming funds for consultants work. This sort of work. It's also for reviewing some of our other options as well. So,
Councillor Fowler.
Do we have anyone locally available that's qualified enough to do that job, or do we have to be a consultant?
This is the process. This process has been going on for long before I came here, and it's Rosalie and we know it really well. It's been a long process. We want to make sure that we've only got this time period between now and 2024. We want to make sure we do it well, and Westland have brought us in on this, and we're going guns blazing. I believe it's wrong for us to accept what the government is saying, the entity are saying, and burdening the community with an SPR rate. So we've taken as good advice as we can, and we're working with what we've found to be a very good person.
No, we really have to use a consultant, don't we? That's a short answer. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll just quickly flesh out one other thing I think I saw in there. So the Future Resilient Westport Steering Group. So that has met. There's a media release I think gone out today. You should have all got with the next kind of a little bit more detail of how that's going to work. And yesterday received a letter from Minister McAnulty and Finance Minister Grant Robertson, who are charged by Cabinet with administering that fund, and they've provided greater clarity again around how that will be drawn down and you know, pretty clear what the steering group needs to do next, or in particular West Coast Regional Council will need to do in that team in terms of the rescoping and you know, redesign in some cases of the protection they had planned. Councillor Webb.
I'll move that we receive the report for information.
Cool. Seconder, Councillor Reedy. All those in favour? Any against? Carried unanimous.
I just have one question.
Yes.
Mr. Hubbard, is he qualified for the subsidy? So he's 73% subsidised under the NZTA funding?
I'll have to come to that.
Okay, thank you.
The bed is still 100% funded.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the Mayor's report. I don't know if there's anything in particular I needed to bring to your attention on that. It is mostly there, I think. Councillor Reedy, question?
Well, the Earth Trust, please, Mr. Mayor, thank you. BHT.
Yep.
Just about 500,000 to fit out. Just a concern that they could be going into an empty building, or we're going to cut out the, if you like, the legacy gear, legacy equipment as a new building. I appreciate that. I know he's tight on you. So we're talking about what's reserves to do some fundraising, which is definitely pretty positive to some degree. So are we looking on track?
Yeah, we're quite confident. So we certainly have enough to move in with the you know, everything we need in terms of basic fit out. The only reason I'm not sharing the exact detail of the success is because some of it's corporate donations, so they want to make an announcement when it suits them. And so, but you know, we're well on the way to that. We're confident, and there's still further you know, charity. Yeah, we're applying through the normal channels, charity donations and things for aspects of it as well. So, but you know, there is still applications in for some of the nicer to haves, if you like. Again, worst case scenario, there's some elements of the fit out. I'll give you a really good example. It's like the dental chairs, for instance. So we could get 2 brand new ones and have them all fitted up, ready to go, and then the team can just walk in and start using them. Or we can literally pick up our relatively good ones from the old building and move them, but that takes maybe 3 or 4 days, and that's a few days we wouldn't be operating and all that. So they're all options we can manage if we had to. But obviously the number one option would be to put 2 nice new ones in and then move our old ones into the other 2 suites over the week or so after we move in, kind of thing. So those kinds of things are where that's at.
I hear you saying, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just in terms of moving, I don't know if it's part and parcel of this, but we are leasing the building, is that correct?
Health Trust is leasing it, yeah.
BSU. So there's going to be a guarantor for that. Is that going to be BEC? Who's guaranteeing the lease?
I don't think there's, I'd have to read the document. I don't believe there's anything on there for the council to guarantor it, but I'd have to look at that and get back to you, to be fair.
Okay.
Off the top of my head, I don't recall. There's certainly no intention of council. There is no, my understanding is there is no underwrite from council for anything for the Health Trust. If there was a need, it would come back to council for a decision, but that certainly hasn't been indicated or flagged in any of our cash flows or plans. It's been standalone for a number of years. For years and years, actually, yeah. As long as I've been involved, Full Health Trust has not had council funding. It's had, you know, some resource from administrative support from, like Kirsten takes our minutes, for example, but that's because she works with me. Cool. Anything else? Just lost my page. Is there anything in the, just let me refresh my memory, in the correspondence that we need to discuss? I think most of that was from Sacred Heart School. It took me a long time to do that. It was a letter from police. Jackie Corner Police, they've been running and it's probably lost on you, it was a long time ago, they ran a trial of a different response model. It's kind of loosely around, I think, the availability of firearms and things to police a little bit more readily than it used to be, and more officers trained in handling that sort of stuff, among some other measures to deal with, kind of the slightly more problematic crime that they're frequently turning out to. They trialled that and they've adopted that model, so that was just a letter to let us know. Other than that, nothing else to add. So up to me. Do you want to move the MES report first?
Yes.
Moved Councillor, seconded Councillor Howard. All those in favour for receiving the MES report? Any against? Carried unanimously. Councillor O'Keefe is leaving and coming back. What's your update on? Do you have anything to update on transport, Miro O'Keefe?
No, there's been no correspondence on that.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Okay. That's dealt with. Moving to the committee chairs, verbal updates. ICB, Councillor Webb.
Some of you may have read that chlorination went live today. I think it's today. So just reiterating the updated meeting that they said if the community can get in contact with the council if you think something is wrong with the water, i.e. strong taste, unusual odour, or it's not colourless. So just passing that on. We had an update on the service centre that work should be starting soon. Possibly it's started and then talked to the contractor. Again, we talked to community is still wanting some progress on the automatic, getting some sort of solution with the front doors. So that's still in progress. I see the rent is nearly complete at the Women's Institute room, which is great. We've advertised for a pool working group, so that should be appointed in the next couple of weeks once we've got all the applications. We talked about an update on Zyman House, that there's a Reaped Health Action Group that has been formed. The ICB have written letters to the Minister of Health and our local MP, so we're just waiting on some more correspondence back. The ICB resolved to contribute to the new speed sign on top of Broadway, so coming in from Blacks Point. So we've contributed the rest of our funds towards that, and it should be up and running in the next month or so. And just to thank you to St John's who are donating AED. Defib that will be installed outside our new public toilet. So thank you to St John's.
Nice.
That is all to update.
Thank you. Questions for Councillor Webb?
Do you need one for the public toilets?
Just another place in the community.
Does the smell get to you?
Yeah, it's pretty strong.
Three different
Seriously,
related.
that part of town.
Okay, moving on. Ned Telford has departed the building, so there is no Ngāti Wairau update. Regulatory and Hearings Committee, Councillor Noel.
On the regulatory side, we're still expecting the consultation to come out for the gambling and the keeping of animals. So that's something to look forward to. On the hearing side, we've been through a patch where we've had no resource consent applications that require a hearing, but lately we've had a bit of a run of them. So we've just finished a hearing for a subdivision at the corner of Alma and McFadden's Road. So that decision's out, and that's got a few recommendations for the council in terms of the master planning and some flooding issues. We've got another one coming up, a 22 lot subdivision at Cape Found, up on the cliff tops there. And then just got advised in the last day or so that there's a mining application in the lower Bulla Gorge, alluvial mining application. So things are rolling along, especially in the subdivision side of it. And of course, these are the only ones that have had objections. We're still getting applications in, with no objections that have been dealt with by the staff. Of the last 2 Wednesdays, this morning and last week, I had webinars for district licensing committees. So there's been a few changes in terms of how the community can get involved. The previous legislation was that you had to have an interest greater than the public to object to any of the licensing applications, and that's now been open to the whole of the public. And this morning's one was just on the powers of the committee, and so there's some changes in terms of what the committee can do, and so we're going to make some alterations in that. Just in terms of personnel for the district licensing committee, Mr. Archer's out of action at the moment. So, if anybody's thinking that they want to go along there, see the acting CEO, because we have got a fourth member, but if Mr. Archer is looking at retiring from that position, then we'll probably need somebody else. So that's about it from my committee.
Excellent, thank you. Any questions? Community Environment, Councillor Howard.
I've had a catch up with Chrissy, Shelley and Myra. This is just prior to Chrissy going on leave. So Shelley, be a nice challenge and a good opportunity for her to upskill. We just had a discussion on the SEEK program of work and just a little bit of forethought for long-term planning. Along with the Mayor, had a catch up with the Karateri Cycle Trail. Had just general discussion about their role in the local economy and local tourism strategy. Them and along with a lot of other groups have been asking me if we can have stakeholder meetings just around local economic and local tourism strategies. Recognising it's a regional level, but just sort of bring together of local people and their input. Myself, Mayor and Di Rossiter had an update on the Restoration for Design strategy. This is an environmental program of work under the KMGT Alliance. So we're looking at a summary to be presented to Council. The Community Hub and Multicultural Centre feasibility study is still meeting fortnightly, and we've got a working group workshop planned for the 18th to the 20th of July. Dog Work project that's really taking shape now with the glances going in it. It might just about all be in by now. So we're getting an appreciation for just what an amazing building it's going to be. There's a great feedback coming on the quality of the workmanship. I think that showed out when I installed the glass. They just couldn't believe a millimetre tolerance in the glass panels just went in. It's also been a great upskilling opportunity for workers and subcontractors. And also the great community engagement that's been going on. And I'd just like to invite Annalise to speak on her portfolio.
Just a quick update. Mayor Jamie and myself went to the Festival for the Future hosted by the new Convention and Exhibition Centre in Wellington called Takina. So 12 youth from Bulla attended the event with support from Tessa and Ella, who both work at Bulla Reap, and a parent, Nikki Singleton. This was a fantastic opportunity for our own youth council to connect with other like-minded, motivated youth from around the country, attend workshops about mindfulness, leadership and climate change, and inspire them to grow their confidence. There were 1,400 attendees at the festival, so that I think the kids really enjoyed getting to meet other kids. I really enjoyed getting to know our own youth voice better, to connect and build relationships so that we can understand the problems that they face from their own perspective and how they can have a role contributing towards local government. I myself was very inspired and extremely proud to see Bulla represented wider afield. So we had Greg O'Connor, who's a current Labour MP, organiser of the event Guy Ryan, and a guest speaker Tara Shepherd. All in attendance at the event were all from the Bulla region, so they were representing us really well. In terms of the funding that council gives to youth in general in Bulla, so historically council have contributed $10,000 towards the youth voice coordinator. That's no longer a position that's held by an employee. So this year we need to look at allocating the money slightly differently. So sort of in discussions with Councillor Howard about how that money could be spent. But from talking to the youth, they really value the input that Bullareep's been having in the courses that they run. They do self-defence and support, you know, the youth to go to events like Festival for the Future. So yeah, that's my update.
Thank you. Any questions on either of those? Lovely. Who's next? Sorry. TTPP, Councillor Naylor, do you want to take that one?
Thanks, Mayor. Yes, you'll all be aware that the draft annual plan went out and submissions were called, and then that period closed, and then there's a period of further submissions, which are submissions on the submissions, if you like, whether you agree or not. There was a bit of a hiccup, and that I think I reported last time that had been extended to the 30th of June. And then we were advised on Monday that there has been some further hiccups in terms of, computers, if you like, spitting out documents that didn't quite match. And so the further submission period's been extended to the 17th of July. And at the last meeting, we also confirmed the iwi rep on the hearings panel had declared, the previous one had declared a conflict of interest, and so a new one was voted on at the last meeting. So that's all been taken care of. There's been a bit of noise, I guess, about the cost of it, and you would have seen comments in the paper, about the 16.4% increase in regional council rates being put down to the TTPP. And I guess a bit of background, the Local Government Commission had a reorganisation scheme for the transfer of certain district planning obligations of the West Coast District Councils to the West Coast Regional Council. So all the obligations that we had under the RMA to maintain a district plan and to renew it, etc., all got transferred over to the Regional Council. But once that was transferred to the Regional Council, there was a further clause in the Order of Council that discharged all of those obligations that originally went to the West Coast Regional Council to the Joint Committee. So you might have heard in the paper that this is a regional council function to do this new district plan or region-wide district plan, but it's actually the function of the Joint Committee. So the only function that that's left with the Regional Council is that they're required to pay for the whole process. So even though there's been comments that this is Regional Council's plan, it's actually the Joint Committee's plan, not the Regional Council's plan. And there's also been comment about the fact that the Regional Council rates have had to rise by 16.4%, so there should have been a corresponding decrease in the District Council's rates. Well, the District Council staff have had to not only put in the original submission, but then go through all the submissions to put in the further submissions. So there's been quite a bit of work going on, and it's still going on, and will go on up close to the 17th of July. So in reality, there has been no decrease in the District Council's work to offset the increase in the rates in the Regional Council. So I just want to make that clear. In fact, when we were, prior to this coming in, I was on the council and we had the hearing committee and planning committee then, and we were going through renewing our district plan. And we were looking at the objectives and then the policies that follow from that, and about to make changes and release the decision. Well, for that year, the work was budgeted in the district council at 50,000 for the year. So we weren't talking big money. We weren't talking in the 5 million sphere of money to renew our own district plan. So I think it's a bit erroneous for people to say that regional council rates are going up, therefore district council rates should come down, because there's a lot of work that's had to go in, and we've had to bring in outside help in order to get through all these submissions and the further submissions. And I guess if you look into the future, once the decisions are made, there's bound to be appeals, and this council itself will have to appear at the hearings, and there's going to be a cost in that. And then once the appeals come in, this council will need to front up for likely appeals, so there's going to be further costs. So I think it's the thinking behind rates go up here and rates should correspondingly go down there is not quite how things are actually playing out on the ground. But other than that, we're moving along, even with the late withdrawal of the iwi commissioner. It looks like that the hearings are going to still continue and will start this year, but maybe a month later than what was first planned. That's about it.
Thank you. Questions? Councillor Reedy?
Through yourself. The only thing I have trouble reconciling is BDC in itself, Pulla, had their own district plan. The fact that the responsibility for producing a regional district plan is now moved to the Joint Committee, let's say down at Greymouth. Why hasn't the initial BDC district plan been overlaid with the regional district plan? I mean, what is different? What makes Bulla north of Pukaki? I'm making myself clear. What is different? We've got a district plan. We've got a district. So why is there anything supposedly driving these additional costs when our original district plan has been overlaid?
Well, but that's exactly what most of us submitted to the Local Government Commission when they had the hearing here. We said exactly the same thing, that it was an unwarranted cost, and I think they replied by saying, well, we will fund it for you, and I think that contributed somewhere between $200,000 and $250,000, and now we're staring down the barrel of $5 million. But under the Resource Management Act, our district plan was notified in 2001, and so it was due for renewal. They last for 10 years, and so we were up for renewal, and as I said, we were going through that process. The other two councils were way behind us in terms of reviewing their existing plans, and so the Local Government Commission decided that in the interest of efficiency and democracy, we should have one plan for the whole region rather than three plans. And in theory, that was supposed to be a cheaper way for the three district council. But I think people who submitted at this time said that this was likely to be bigger than Ben-Hur, and that's the way it's turned out. That the cost was
actually an order in council required it, so effectively they wrote law that said we had to. So.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a lot of background at PDPP. It's probably not on the website. I think it's a good offline conversation if you want to understand the background to link in with Graham, because it's a big story.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Anything else for Councillor Halon? Call localities, Graham? Anything?
Yep. So localities, we met again on Monday afternoon, and there's been a request. We have a governance board, if you like, and so we're part of the government. And then underneath there's an operational, and so the chairman, Kevin Haig's, requested the councils actually provide somebody for the operational side of it. And I said, well, we deal in a whole lot of spheres. What are you particularly looking to? And he said community services, those involved in community services. So Mayor Lash came into the conversation and said, well, the three district councils will have a chat, and probably through the mayors and chairs, and decide whether they're going to have one person on the operation that will represent all three councils, or does each council need? And obviously there's no funding for this. and we realise how stretched staffs are now. And this is only another thing to go on. So that side of it, in terms of the governance committee, they went out for public consultation on wellbeing things. So they're still collating all of that. And tomorrow there's an all-day summit at the Polytech in Greymouth, where they're bringing all of those people who made submissions or who want to have a talk. And I think there's about 100 people turning up tomorrow. So hopefully after tomorrow we'll, because this is all about, and we've had the message loud and clear, rebuilding the health system from the bottom up. So here's the bottom people coming in, if you like. No, that's not a derogatory term, but and we're hoping to get a whole lot of information out of them tomorrow. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. And you're attending that?
I'm attending, yeah.
Cool. Okay, any questions on that? And Councillor O'Keefe's indicated there hasn't been a meeting or anything with the RTC since last month, which isn't unusual, that's normal.
Right.
Sorry, Grant?
Just an add on to I'm on the West Coast Road Safety one. Know that they've got an ACC running a Ride for Life safety program for motorbikes. There's one happening this Sunday, about 5 to 6 hours. It's run in conjunction with the local Ulysses and ACC, so to make bike riding a lot safer. It's a silver award, there's gold, silver, and bronze. So anyone can attend and it's free of charge.
Where is it?
It's in Westport itself. I'm not sure exactly where, but I'll ride around and find it.
Cool, thank you. Okay, so I move the council receive the verbal updates from the chairs and council reps for information. Seconded, please. Councillor Howard, all those in favour? Any against? Carried. Right, to the submission to the Water Services Entities Bill, Amendment Bill. John, do you want to give us a potted version of what this is about?
So, through the mayor, we received notification on Friday that the submission process was opened up at central government for the new Water Services Amendment Bill. Unfortunately, the submissions are due on the 5th of July, so there's no other process rather than adding in a late agenda point this evening, which I have to apologise for, but there's nothing else I could do. So yeah, this bill outlines basically, I've given the key features and I've also given some background to it, but the key feature that we pulled out is that first of all, probably the most important one, we don't have a date yet in terms of when we will go live in the new entity. We know that will be from 1 July 2024 to the 1st of July 2026. So obviously that's a key amendment. It's the dates moving from 4 to 10 entities. There's quite a lot of information in terms of the transition programme, and it's more so in line with some of the key legislative requirements of our councils when it comes to the annual plan, when it comes to the LTP, when it comes to basically any legislative requirement we've got to provide our community. So a couple of the key ones that I wanted to, obviously I've outlined them all in the report I've given, but there is no requirement at all for water, including the infrastructure strategy, the 30-year infrastructure strategy, which we have just kicked off. We'll be getting a workshop in for that in the next month or two, I would say. Water is only required for the 24-25 and 25-26 LTP, or long-term plan, sorry. The next 8 years of the long-term plan, there's no legislative requirement for us to include water in that. So obviously that comes with a lot of, what I imagine are a lot of questions for you guys. However, also in the legislation in terms of that, there is no requirement for councils to consult if changes are made depending on the election. So for example, if the opposition party win and the reform goes away, we do not need to consult if we then add water back in. So it's quite a stringent submission. It takes a lot to look at, but like I say, I've outlined all the key elements. One of the really good elements of the submission is that they're putting in regional representatives. So that means that every region and the entity will have a representative, we call it a seat at the table, which will be really beneficial for everyone, especially in the region that we are in. Adding to that, they've also formed as part of the legislation community groups, which will be decided by FI orders in council. The other elements that we'll need to think about as well is that entities can merge, and we've included that in the new legislation bill. So what that means is essentially we could, it used to be entity D, which was pretty much full of the South Island, but Nelson Marble. We're entity I, we've got entity J, which are pretty much the opposite side or attacking the Southland. There is going to be a process that's put in place that all the regional representative group members and the entity decide there is a position that we can merge in that. There's obviously different questions that I've asked or I've put into submission to understand how that process works. But the reason why the report came to tonight is that if we didn't get approval for the mayor that we have delegated authority, we wouldn't be able to do a submission on behalf of the council legally. So I wanted to basically outline the key points that I've put in and see if you're happy with me for me to do the submission as I did for the last two, that received pretty good feedback through the mayor and obviously the skill set that we've got in hand. That's what we're requiring as part of the report. But yeah, the key ones really is pretty much around all the legislative requirements when it comes to what we have to give to the community through the staff members and obviously you guys. But yeah, I think the big thing for us when we strip everything back is understanding when we will be moving to the new entity. That's a big question for us, and obviously, and the community and the ratepayer. I think it's really important to understand that quickly. And just to let you know as well, we do have a chief executive forum next week, and I think more information is going to be relayed to us from there as to what it means for us moving forward. And I'm sure we'll give you another report based on that. If there's any questions or anything I've put, please just ask.
Okay, folks. So my intention obviously would be to circulate the submission when it's ready to sign.
Yes.
So everyone's got it. But being given the brief on the reason for expediency, this timeline's set by the Crown. So, Councillor Reedy.
Move draft recommendation 3, A and B together.
Thank you. Someone second that? Councillor Naylon. Any questions further on that? All those in favour? Any against? That's carried unanimously. Thanks, John. You do write a very good submission, I have to say, so I'm full confidence that I won't have to be rewriting that when that turns up. Okay, we have a quick discussion on response to public forum. If there's anyone has anything in particular they want to have me include, free to enter. I think it's just a letter of thanks and largely what I verbalised to her, just to tidy that up. Yeah, and so Lynn was nodding, so the funding must be still in there. So yeah, that funding was there. Yep. Okay, the other one is Higgins. Any comments?
Just I reckon just acknowledge your concerns.
Yeah, I
thank you for coming and acknowledging the concerns that she has. Yeah, I think that's, you don't need anything more than that. Because it's a pretty wide brush.
Yeah, she comes and sees me reasonably often at Mayor's Chats and expresses similar views. So
at least she says something.
And she's quite genuine.
Yeah.
yeah, just respecting it. She uses her right to come and say it.
I think
Cool.
acknowledging here too that obviously there is a sector of, she talked about pension, there's a lot of people, and we acknowledge that a lot of people feeling the pinch at the moment and trying to keep costs down.
Yeah, we're trying to do our best there. That's right. Okay, thank you. And the presentation from Dignity New Zealand, is there a view there? We want to can you just give us
reading through the information she supplied.
Yeah, so Chrissy, Mrs. Trigger, you working with her?
I'll grab some very rough estimate numbers from the sites that we use, so that would be theatres, our libraries, and also our halls. We have about 5,000 users a month roughly across those sites, and a visitor centre in Rexton as well. I'm not quite sure to calculate how many people would be of the correct age to be needing to use those products. But just based on the figures, we would be outside our budgets, potentially between about $3,000 and $5,000 a year. But I'll send you through the information, but it's just to get council's, I guess, not an approval for that or not.
So I guess cop before column us, is this in budget somehow already, or would be covered from a current budget, or?
Not in budget at the moment.
No. So how would that be added now? What if?
I mean,
It's not a huge amount of money, but
if it's seen as a community or service issue for the community, then I think you would just accept that we should put that in place for this year. If that's what we felt was appropriate, then we just have to try and see how we adjust our budgets for it. Because none of us specifically do that.
Okay.
I think we'd probably need time to have a look at it anyway before you send it to.
Yeah, I'm not seeking the full go ahead now. I'm just we're mainly going to respond to Lisa around thanking her for her presentation, and we'll look at it. Just an idea around actually, can we add it, or does it have to be thrown out like another year, something like this before you?
It is available, as it's available in schools now. It's been around for a couple of years. Yeah.
I think I can deal with the reply to that. Everyone happy with that? Yep, cool. Okay, that's that bit. Then Councillor Reedy.
Mr. Mayor, are we moving on to excluded?
We are, because we have.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yes.
I indicated on the email, although it's too late now, that I wanted to discuss PMO, but technically it's supposed to be announced at the start of the meeting, not now. So I'm out of order now, obviously. But I'm just seeking some advice.
Yes, so as I responded to your email, I think that's fine. There's some work and train around PMO review that's been widely publicised. And so I'm perfectly comfortable for an action point to go on Council's action point list for that information, or a management report on the PMO come back to Council at a date to be advised, because I don't know what the timelines are on the reporting and things that are in train. So that's really what we can do here. We don't have a big debate here about it. It's because it's not on the agenda. So we can resolve that it come to a future council meeting, which is what an action point would seek to achieve. Are you comfortable with that?
Not really, but that's the rules are the rules, and you don't have an agenda item for this. So we can only do what you have suggested, Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
And by that time, of course, if you look at the timeline that was on the confidential paper that was sent out, we are almost looking at, if we have the paper coming to upcoming for to council, it's almost at the time that the document will be ready for review.
Yeah. I would imagine. Well, I guess that's I can't comment on the timelines, although I haven't read that fully, but that would be up to management to advise when that report can be ready. But I would imagine they would need that information to make a meaningful report to council. Yeah.
Am I allowed to make an observation, please, Mr. Mayor, in terms of that, or?
I don't think it's going to be handled at a future council meeting. Okay. Yeah. So I can't really set a date unless have you got clarity on.
I don't have time frame for that. Sorry, I don't.
So can we raise an action point for full council? So when I have two things on there, the PMO review report, management report on the PMO. If you how I prefer to catch it, to come back to council at a date to be advised, to be updated in July. So the report may not come in July, it'll depend on timelines, but an update then as to when we should be able to set a date for the report then. Is that the best way of doing that? Because we normally do update those action points as we get new information. Okay, you comfortable with that?
Well, just in terms of an action point, does that allow discussion at the next council meeting because it's now an action point, or do we got to wait for the report?
We discussed the action point list, so yeah, I think it probably does. Yeah. So it'll be an update then on progress or anything like that. Yep. It just puts it in there. It's in a placeholder at least. Good with that? Happy with that? Okay. Do we need to resolve that? I think it's just noted.
It's never on the agenda.
Yeah, so it's just noted. You've raised it. We've dealt with it. Okay, thank you. Right. Oh gosh, I've lost that. Okay, so we are into public excluded, aren't we? So, thank you. There are two things on there. Confirmation of some public excluded minutes and a interim C recruitment update from me. I'd like to move that we. Deputy Mayor Basher and Councillor O'Keefe. Any conversation? Any debate on moving into public excluded? All those in favour? Any against? That's carried. We're now in public excluded. Thank you.